Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are here for another match of the URC, the last quarter final. All three other participants in the semis have been confirmed, but now we're on to the last game, which might be the closest out of all of them. The Sharks at home taking on Munster, a side that love to get those away victories. The way that the table sits, the way that this matchup happened was because 3 versus 6 for the quarters. We have already seen the top 3 other sides get themselves the victory. So at the moment, it is Leinster versus Glasgow in one of the semi-finals. Unless, of course, Munster can cause that upset, then maybe we get to see 2 Irish sides going through. But for now, this is the way that it can happen. Leinster versus Glasgow confirmed. No time confirmed as of yet for it, but the Bulls, they have booked themselves a spot through. And now the big question is, will it be the Sharks or Munster that they find across from them? Looking through at the starting lineup, the Sharks, what can you say other than absolutely stacked once again for this contest? Oxnard in the number 1 jersey, Bongi Umbanambi at 2, and Vincent Koch slotting in as the number 3. Eben Etzebeth, that man has been on the fine line between injured and not, but somehow is still playing. Hopefully gets out of this one injury-free as well. Jason Jenkins gets the start at 5. Then in the midfield, in the loose forward trio will be Fenta, Techuka, and Siakalisi slotting in as the number 8. Jaden and Jordan Hendrickse as the 19 combination. Andre Estes and alongside Lucanio Arm, who will be bringing up his 100th cap for the Sharks. So a massive congratulations to that man. Been in the side for a long time. Tries to really bring that impact. And him and Esterhuizen can just run the ball hard all day. But Munster, they of course will be up for the challenge. And that's where that brain power and the vision of Lucanio can be extremely handy. Makazole Mapimpi out on the left wing. Ethan Hooker out on the right. And Apalele Fasi at the number 15. Now, in the 2 games that have involved South African players, or South African sides, in both contests, we have seen the number 11 yellow carded. And during that period of time, we have seen 2 tries scored by the opposition. So, Makazole Mapimpi, he has to break the chain, because if he doesn't, 2 tries in this contest might be just enough to help Munster towards a victory. Looking at some of the recent form for these 2 sides, first of all, for the Sharks, 12-3, their last game over the Scarlets. Scarlets having a valiant effort in their game up against Leinster. So I do feel like that game now in perspective probably wasn't the absolute worst for the Sharks, but way too many handling errors happening throughout that 80 minutes. They have to be a lot more clinical for this match. Munster have had a couple good wins, one over Benetton, one over Ulster. That game up against Benetton actually helped determine that they would be through to the quarterfinals. And their starting lineup is as follows. In the front row, Michael Milne, Niall Scannell and Stephen Archer in the number 3 jersey. Jean Klein alongside Tyke Byrne in the locks with Peter O'Mahony, John Hodnett and Gavin Coombs as the number 8. Craig Casey alongside Jack Crowley as a 19 combo. Alex Nankerville and Tom Farrell in the midfield. Barron out on one wing. Kelvin Nash out on the other. And Thaka Abrahams, the speedster, at number 15 in the chat. We have got their people going for the Sharks by the looks of it overall. And where can we watch the match if you don't have DSTV? Do you have a VPN? Because if you've got a VPN, TVNZ Plus do have all of the quarterfinals available. I believe because this game is involving an Irish side, it will be on, is it TG4? I think that's what it's called, but I could be wrong. If you do set yourself to Ireland, Evan does not get injured. He is sometimes inconvenienced, but not injured, says Miller. And his pity Grant Williams is not fit for this one. Absolutely. That man is a talent and a half. And it just feels like it's been a bit too long since we've seen Grant Williams out there on the field for the Sharks. So hopefully, fingers crossed at least, we get to see him either before the end of the season or maybe in July for those other internationals. There was a time when the Sharks weren't known as the Sharks, but as the Banana Farmers. That was their official nickname, says Christopher. And this could get ugly, very ugly. Why? Because both these teams know how to win ugly, very ugly, says Eric. And this is a very difficult game to predict. I agree. I think that this one definitely is going to be the closest game of the weekend. It's one thing I feel slightly confident in predicting. But the thing is, if Munster don't turn up and the Sharks have right those wrongs or have, I guess, made corrections to what they did wrong in their last game up against Scarlets, this could be pretty one-sided in favour of the home team. There is a reason it's called home field advantage. But Munster are the type of side, definitely as of late, who just love causing those upsets. They come in as underdogs here But like someone said earlier on, it was Eric, he said they know how to win ugly and they can do it. They have been URC champions. And it was through just pure grit and determination that they were able to do so. I think Sharks to edge them, but not by far. Well, I'm hoping so. And go the Sharks win 19 points to 3, says Abe there. What we will also do is we will show you guys the benches involving for these sides. For the Sharks, they have got Fezambata, Ntotoku Machunu, and Handro Jacobs as the number 18. Emil van Heerden, who has had quite a few starting minutes, but does come off the bench in this match. Pepsi Putalese, Bradley Davids, Francois Fenta, and Yapinka as the number 23. For Munster, they've got some pretty handy options too. Connor Murray, a huge amount of experience for that man. Rory Scannell in the 22. Mike Haley at number 23. And then a few handing forwards in the mix as well. But this game is less than 15 minutes away from kicking off. Like I mentioned, we've already determined who the other 3 semi-finalists will be. It is Leinster versus Glasgow at the Aviva. And then at the moment, the Bulls, they've booked themselves a spot at Loftus, but they are unsure of who they will be playing. It will either be a South African derby or it will be a match between the Bulls and Munster, which always manages to entertain. So either way, I feel like we're a little bit spoiled with the 2 semi-finals that we have got. Albert, it seems to me that like 85% of us disagree, says more of that, please. And the Sharks first to play the Bulls Bulls at Loftus is enough for me to smash Munster. Or it's enough for them to smash Munster, I should say. From Miller, I hope the South African team knows how to tackle, says Salah. And 25-17 in favour of Munster is Christopher's prediction too. So it seems a little bit split in terms of who people think are going to be able to win in this match. Did Leinster win? They did, but they made hard work of it. They were up against a valiant Scarlet side that really, for a team that going into that contest were given no shot whatsoever, they stepped up. They managed to keep it close. They were only down by 1 point at halftime, but it was that second half from Leinster where they found their next gear. And a couple unfortunate yellow cards for the Scarlets also didn't really help their chances of being able to go far in the comp. But still to be in the top 8, I think, was a massive achievement for that Scarlet side. And, I wouldn't be surprised if we see them again there or thereabouts for next season as well. But we have asked, of course, the prediction. Who you guys think will win this game? I would also love to know who you guys think will be able to score tries in this contest in terms of the exact players. Now, these are the type of matches that Sia Khaleesi can really step up for. We've seen it in terms of the Springboks and what he brings to the table in important contests for them. I wonder whether or not it will be the same for the Sharks here. We have got there, I type that like my eye says more of that, please. I think that is. Anyway, and yes, remember, says Sucker Ball, and I had dinner duty, so I couldn't follow the second half of Leinster. Hoping Sharks win here, says Xander. Yeah, whoever wins this contest will go on to face the Vodacom Bulls in the other semi-final. Now, that will be taking place next week. We are going to be covering those 2 games on the channel. There are no official times as of yet, I don't believe, for when those matches will be taking place. I have a very quick look now, though, just to make sure that there isn't any sort of extra confirmation. No, it doesn't look like it. So the semi-final's still a little bit undecided, but I would assume they'll either be back-to-back or maybe one on one day, one on the other. Either way, we will be covering both of them on the channel. The score is going to be 23 points to 14. And Bongi or Manambi for sure. Oh, for Bongi, are you saying rolling maul try or are you saying just in general play that he's able to score it? Because I guess the benefit of your hooker out there on the park is you've got both options. Whether or not the Sharks will use that physicality, I think that in this game they will try and really get their scrum going. And that's the thing. The South African sides in recent times anyway, I don't think this sounds too harsh either, but when they've been playing poorly in other aspects of their game, their scrums have been winning the matches in those close contests. The likes of the Sharks, for instance, they've had some really down-to-the-wire type of games, and it's those penalties that they get from a dominant scrum. Looking at this front row, I mean, it's an all-Bok front row for the for the Sharks. Decent couple players there for Munster, but I do think advantage does go the way of the home side. AJ Fenta says Salah, and Drew says Miller, and the good old day says Albert. And which year did Natal become the Sharks? Says Zandon, first Super Rugby season, says Christopher. But nonetheless, we are getting closer to this game. 10 minutes away from the sounds of it. It's quite cold weather at the moment in Durban, but nothing too substantial that would affect this game. We saw Leinster versus Scarlets actually had a little bit of rain around the halftime break for a few minutes or so, and then back to sunshine. RTE next Saturday, URC semi, 2:45 p.m. Irish time. Is that the Leinster Glasgow game, Patrick, or is that this semi-final between the Bulls and the winner? As I do know that it's probably dependent on who wins, just saw on the TV guide, says Patrick. So perhaps that's also the time that they've got kind of booked in, because for myself on the app that I use, it had just 2 a.m. set as both of the times. So I would assume that one of the games will be taking place at around that time. It's just whether or not there's another game either on that same day or whether we maybe get to see it taking place the day prior, like we saw for the Glasgow versus Stormers game. A Saturday morning fixture could be the case for the other semi, which would be a Friday night game over there in South Africa and the North. What is 62 plus 56? That is 118. Ab, is that how many points you think are going to be scored in this contest? And we have got there, doesn't say, says Patrick. And everyone done with my mental preparations and meditation for this match? Let's go the Sharks, says Lilia. And cold in Durban is not the same as cold in New Zealand, says Albert. Although it was a Durban local who did say that it was a bit chilly in Durban. We'll get the temperature though, just because Albert's being difficult. It's 18 degrees Celsius, so it's not too bad going into that evening kind of period too. 6:30 a.m. or 6:30 p.m. local time will be when this one does kick off. And could be a little bit of dew around as well after the sun has set. Loftus was an absolute picture for the game earlier on between the Bulls and Edinburgh. Perfect weather. I'm going Sharks 35-21 over Munster, says Lilia B. And cold in Durban is like summer in most places, says Suckabulla there. So the players are probably quite happy that it's a bit chillier. Can I see the Sharks bench? We will go like that and like that. As you can see, plenty of class to come off that bench for the Sharks. They've got Fezambata, Untutuku Machunu and Hanro Jacobs van Heeren. He's had quite a few starting minutes, like I said earlier on, but finds himself off the bench for this big fixture. Francois Fente, Yapinka and Bradley David. So the 5-3 split here for both of the teams. I think that's smart because you want to have that back extra option. Just because of the amount of injuries that we're seeing recently, the voice is trying to disappear. It will come back in a short moment. Ladies and gents, we are into about our 10th hour of streaming for the day. And who would have thought talking so much would make your voice disappear? But some decent options for Munster of their bench as well. Connor Murray there, Rory Scannell, Mike Haley as the back replacements. And Munster's going to be difficult to beat, says Ruth. If you are a local, then 18 in Durban is freezing, says Albert. And we have got there, so you're telling me, is that the Shark we're really called? That's a good long name, isn't it? I'm not tripping, but I have an idea. Andre Estaisen will give Lucanio Arm a last-minute pass to score a try in his 100th cap, says says Miller, I should say. But it's interesting that they didn't go with Lorenzo Julius off the bench, instead having Francois Fente as well as Yapinka. And I have a drink some water already on it. And we have got there Sharks 21 to the 18 for Suckabulla's prediction. So a lot of people back in the Sharks, but a few people saying maybe a narrow victory for Munster could also be on the cards. I've mentioned it time and time again. I do think this will be the closest game of the weekend that we've seen for the URC quarterfinals. It's only 5 minutes away. Getting very close. Winner of this contest facing the Vodacom Bulls in Durban. Are you going to stream the game? We are doing the live commentary for it. We aren't able to show any match footage due to licensing. Any match footage would get us taken straight off YouTube, copyright strike, possibly sued, and it would be very inconvenient. But depending on where you are in the world, you may have an option of being able to watch these games for free. And if you've got a VPN, you can set yourself to a location that can watch it for free as well. We have there olive oil and butter, a good dope for voice, says Albert. I think also, in regards of recommendations, I would say that when they talk about how to not have a raspy voice, they'd say don't talk for 12 hours straight. that would actually probably help me too. How long can Eben realistically go with all his injuries? Honestly, like, as much as I'd love to see him keep on going, it's getting to the point now, definitely with the concussion problem that he had a little while ago. I think he's only 1 or 2 big knocks away from hanging up the boots. And it's a shame because he's such a veteran of this Springbok side, most capped of all time, and thoroughly deserves that accomplishment. But, you know, when you get to a certain age, the body just starts breaking down. And when you've had so many injuries, they start to stack up. Munster TG4 Ireland, but it will be in Irish. Says Patrick, and Sharkies will have to start with a bang, says Ruth. But yeah, I do think that Etzebeth, for me anyway, I'd love to see him make it to that World Cup. As if the Springboks were to win it, it would be fantastic to see him in the environment to do it. Just because I feel like there are a few of those guys who could become 3-time champions, and that's something that we may never see again. Thanks for all the hard work, Hamish. Says James, no worries at all. I smoke some weed that keeps the voice in check. Says you're rough. Yeah, we are going to be covering those games next week. We will have 5 in total, the 2 semi-finals of the URC and also the 3 playoff finals of Super Rugby. We have got there, Eben and his wife announced their 2nd pregnancy this week. Congrats to them. It's another girl. Says Lilia there. So, 2nd girl. I wonder whether or not he is hoping for a future lock in the box. I know that Rassie certainly will be. He'll be going, come on, Eben, give me another year and let's have another one just in case. I want the stocks ready for 20 years' time. But just about to get underway for this matchup. The Sharks, they will be determined. They've been up and down a little bit throughout the season. I think most people would agree with that statement. They've had some phenomenal games and they've had some games where they just haven't looked at all like the Sharks in terms of the amount of players that they have got. But it is a nighttime game here at Durban, Hollywood's Kings Park. Score at the moment, of course, sitting 0-0, but at the end of this game, I think it's only going to be separated by 3 or 5 or somewhere around there. But these are the recent fixtures for these two sides. The Sharks were able to get themselves a win over the Ospreys, as well as the Scarlets. Won one game by 19, won the other by the 9. Whereas for Munster, they had a 18-point victory over Ulster, and then a 9-point victory over Benetton over their last 2 weeks. But we also have to remember, some of these sides are momentum teams, and they love playing week in, week out. Both teams having to bye, or at least not playing in last week's Champions or Challenge Cup final, which means they will be more fresh, but at the same time, you're also in that scenario of maybe a little bit of rust for the first 10, 15 minutes of this contest, just to really find that rhythm again. We have got there, so who will play the semi-final, says Albert. So on the other side of the draw, it will be Leinster versus Glasgow. On this side of the draw, the winner of this game play the Bulls. So no way of 2 South African sides making it through to the final of the URC this year. Not saying it'll help with the throat, but I've heard if you gargle with Mentos and Coke, it does magical things. Yeah, I don't know how that would go. I feel like that would just expand everything, wouldn't it? And who do you think will win, Hamish, says Craig? The Sharks, if they play well, I believe will win. But if they have as many handling errors as they've had recently, I think Munster will make the most of those opportunities and really take it to them. So it comes down to the Sharks' handling. If they get it right and they are functioning as a backline, I think that they'll go far in this match. And they should be able to win it by maybe 10. But if they drop the ball a lot, the big thing... Oh, the Munster defence is like my teeth, and a child has got a few teeth missing by the looks of it. I feel like one of the parents wrote that sign, didn't they? Are going to show the game live? Sadly, due to licensing, any match footage or audio gets you taken straight off YouTube. You won't be able to find it on YouTube, but if you've got a VPN, be sure to set yourself to either New Zealand for TVNZ Plus, set yourself to Ireland, and you will be able to watch it for free as well. There are plenty of options around, but that VPN is required to be able to see it. And ginger lemon and honey hot drink, says James, and Sharks will try and win from the 75th minute. And Hamish, you must remember the weather in Durban. Winter in Durban is not winter in Europe, says Miller. And there as well, and Eben would want a son. He can teach rugby, says Ruth. And also we have got there suckle from a male whale tit, says Ruff. That's quite the statement, but look, Kanyo, match number 100 for him as he makes his way onto the field. This is either going to be one that he remembers for a long time or one that he wishes to forget, depending on how the Sharks side play. Sharks will try and win from 75th minute only, says Xander, and that's where their scrum can really get them into a good position. Did some people just discover YouTube? Says Christopher. And Robert, I'll never abandon you. Or the other rockers here. Says Ruth. The Ebenezer, we have a massive smile on his face as well. He is the captain for this matchup. And congratulations, says Lilia B. I mean, you just look through at this Shark side. Sia Khaleesi, Ebenezer, Bongio Manambi, Oxnashye, Makazoli, Mapimpi, Lukanyo. How can they not win? But the thing is, we've seen it before and we will see it again. Sometimes they just don't gel. This game they have to, though. Is a VPN needed? It is if you want to set yourself to any of those locations to be able to watch the games, yes. But if you go on the URC website, there is also a where to watch tab that might have a free option depending on what country you're in. But we are almost ready to go for this match. The Sharks forwards are going to Origami Munster, says Miller. And the Sharks are taking it, says Ghostface. And hi all, it's all about the Sharks. Come on, guys, says Marco. Yeah, this is going to be one of those matches that it's going to have huge hits. Hopefully not going to have many injuries, but just the rate that we've had the injuries lately, you would think maybe 2 or 3 players are going to be going down in total here. Hopefully, nothing too serious. Of course, international games just around the corner for the Irish, as well as for the South Africans. Just having a moment of silence around the game. Or around the ground, I should say, and then we are underway. Do let me know who you guys think will score the first try of this fixture. For myself, is there a chance that Munster can score first? A little sneaky one, and then maybe the Sharks score the next 2? I'm going to say... I'm going to go Alex Nankervis crashing over somehow. First try of the contest, and then after that, we're going to see 2 tries from the Sharks, and they'll be Ethan Hooker and Vincent Tachuka. There we go. I've just picked random names, I will be honest. How to watch from New Zealand with a VPN. If you do have a VPN, set yourself to New Zealand, then go on TVNZ+, and that is your option to be able to watch it. They have got all of the quarterfinals. Also, they have got more than just the sports. They've got TV shows, they've got movies, they've got news. Sounds like a sponsored deal. It just isn't, but yeah, it's how we watch these games for the URC. But the 5-second countdown is on, and we are now underway for another match of the URC quarterfinals, the last one. And the Sharks kick off from left to right in what is already an electric atmosphere at Kings Park Stadium. And that one's going to be kicked into touch by Munster. Decent clearance from Craig Casey. Mapimpi for the first try, says Albert. With all the support for the Sharks, they might, it's the bet, says Uraf, and Sharks by 17. I'm going Bongi or Manambi first try, says Craig. And Bongi is having a shocking season so far, says James. Although it seems like some people are picking him to have a great game here, or at least to cross the try line here. Thrown in, nicely taken by Jason Jenkins, and the rolling maul of the Sharks is already starting. 40 metres out, Mike Adamson tells them to use it once. Here we go. Says Lilia B. And Bongi Manambi first try for sure, says Miller. Now short side, Jaden Hendrickson pops it on to Jordan. About 30 metres out. Munster trying to get the steal in the breakdown. It will be all about physicality in the early stages of this match. Hendrickson back across to Andre Esterhuizen and flat ball to Khaleesi from Koch. That is a good leg drive there from Khaleesi to make those few extra metres. It looks like there's going to be a knock-on advantage in the process of the tackle against Munster. Hendrickson back across to the right-hand side. Advantage already over, and there was obstruction there against the Sharks. A bit of push and shove already there from Gavin Coombs to Jordan Hendrickson. We have there. My cousin wants to know who do you think is going to win, because he doesn't want Egg Chasers to be sad if the Sharks lose. Well, I do think, like I mentioned earlier on, the Sharks should win. Their side is stacked. They've got home field advantage. But the big factor will be if they drop the ball, as often as they did in their last game. If they're dropping it like that, they might be dropping out of this competition. I opened a bottle of Don Julio Let the Hamish drinking game begin, says Christopher. And hooker with the first try, says James. And the Sharks by 12 is Marco's prediction there. Peter O'Mani claiming the line out, and now the rolling more. Munster will try and get something going. John Hodnett runs straight at Bongi Umbanambi. Craig Casey. Way to the right-hand side to Alex Nankervel. Trying to get his leg strength going too. I think there's going to be quite a few post-contact meters. That's about post -5 off the tackle of Oxenishare. Did drive the Munster player fully backwards. Tyke Byrne now. Tackled by Jason Jenkins. And we have their 9 out of 10 for the Sharks is the weak part of the team. Says James. Now that's going to be popped up now. Off to the back. Alex Nankervel puts in one more. Out to John Hodnett, who moves up to the 22-metre line. He's going to be bundled into touch there. They just ran out of space to be able to work within that scenario for the Munster side. I think John Hodnett, that's already about his third touch that he has had. And Nankervel just finding a bit of open space. And Hodnett just needed an inside ball, but unfortunately for him, he got lined up by Etzebeth Hendrickse. That was leaving not much space to be able to get it back. And Bongi Omanumbi pointing at the line out. He's saying there's not a gap there. Ref says get on with it. Be thrown in now for the Sharks to the front off to Jason Jenkins. Might have been contacted in the air there, but Oxenishare tackle from just inside of his 22. I believe the Sharks with Hendrickson will now look for that clearing kick and momentum position and accurate kicking. Says Roof there. Is Julius playing today for the Sharks? He actually isn't. He's ended up missing out on selection here. Lucanio Arm playing his 100th game in the centre pairing. Francois Fenta and Yapinka both making their way off the bench. And then Andre Esterhazen playing in that number 12 jersey. 12 Springboks in the team. Something like that. They've got a huge number of Boks across the board. And, you know, that should bode well for them. But sometimes it does seem like there's, the saying is too many cooks in the kitchen. And I do think that they've got so many sensational players that sometimes they kind of coincide with each other and don't quite find the same page. But now kicked high from Munster just inside of their half, looking to hang this one high. It's knocked on by Apalele Fasi. Now Thaka Abrahams trying to break through. Currently the knock-on advantage. Right, Mike Adamson already saying advantage over. He's not playing around with those knock-on advantages. They're only going for maybe one phase, and then they are done. Sia Khaleesi thought about the steal and the breakdown. Does get cleaned out. Jack Crowley passes across down to the left-hand side. Bit of a fumble there from Nash, and he's knocked it on the second crack at it. And Armin stays into one-dimensional. Says James. Sharks pretend you are wearing green and gold. Says Cool Story. But seeing Eben is there, the glue. Says Miller. Although they have been there for games where the Sharks have been defeated during this season, sometimes it just isn't quite their day. But for now, they've already had much less in terms of their handling errors throughout the first 5 minutes. Although, to be fair, that was a knock-on from Apalele Fasi, wasn't it? So maybe it's just the fact that we haven't had a stoppage from a handling error of the Sharks. I said the Stormers would win for sure, and they were dismal. So I'm not going to call this one and jinx the Sharks. Here's Roger, and come on, Khaleesi, get a try. See, it's Spider Mick there too. Now just showing all of the support runs that we are seeing from Munster. There was a long slow motion replay of nothing really, just a few phases that they decided to play on repeat, but we are going to get to see now. Okay, tackle timing, just be aware not to go too late, is the comment there. Okay, so Etzebeth has just been told the tackles were fine, but don't do it any later than they were. Pretty much is the gist of that. We are going to get to see the first scrum of the day. This is really the moment that we see whether or not Munster have any shot at scrum time. Sharks, all Springbok front row, almost an all Springbok forward pack to be fair, but pack weight's 906 kgs for the Sharks, 908 kgs for Munster. I told you my cousin, you also said there may be too many cooks. Says Cool Story. Jaden Hendrickse. Be ready to put this ball in that scrum. Someone went down to a knee, so we are going to have a reset right from the get-go. Don't worry, relax. We'll find our balance. I think I just heard one of the players say, and looks like a pretty good crowd. Yeah, and they have been loud already throughout the early stages of this contest, really getting behind their home side. And in comparison, right, the last game in South Africa, the Bulls versus Edinburgh, because of the start that Edinburgh had, the crowd were pretty much dead silent throughout the first maybe 15 or so minutes. But once that Bulls side started firing, Roa Nokia said that it really seemed to get them up to that next level. Sharks may be too complacent and stick to the game plan, go the Sharks, says Pete. But now another scrum reset. And now this time looks like a much more successful scrum, and the penalty goes the way of the Sharks. That is a statement already. And great scrum, Sharks, says Sakamola won't be able to stay. Just popped in to say hello. Come on, Munster, and F the Sharks, says Sebastian. But now they have a decision. 55 metres out from the line. Jordan Hendrickson, does look like they are opting to go for the touchline, but a big scrum early on from the Sharks. Exactly what they would have wanted. How's the weather in Durban? I wonder if the evening dew will affect the handling. So it is 75% humidity and about 17 degrees Celsius at the moment. Not any signs of rain, but yeah, will be a little bit slippery, I would think. And Sharks Machine, don't say I told you so. Says Miller. But now Sharks, see whether or not their line-out can function just as well. So far, they are 2 from 2. Etzebeth ready to... Oh, that was a massive dummy sell from Etzebeth. Did the big knee bend as if he was going to get lifted in the air. The Sharks now with the ball. Looked like Munster were trying to get a leg in there. Try and scoop it back around. I told my cousin, go annoy someone else. Leave me alone. I'm listening to Rugby with Hamish, Kiwi lads. Says Ruth. Now passed across here for the right-hand side. Munster with a low-look pass there from Alex Nankervel. Off to Kelvin Nash. Trying to find his way through Etzebeth and Esterhazen. Dragging him down. Another advantage is over for an original knock-on. Big shot. Coming in on Michael Milne. How's your legend? Love the commentary, mate, from a Sharks fan, says Terence. And of course, we are going to be here next week for the semi-finals of the URC as well as the playoff games for Super Rugby. So anyone who is new, be sure to hit that subscribe button. This is our 5th live stream, pretty much back to back to back, has happened today. And we're still waiting for a very close game. We haven't had that yet. The closest was the Edinburgh versus Bulls game. This game for now is quite close. It's 0-0 after the 8 minutes. But I do think once one of these sides score, we're not going to stay with a 0 on the board for very long. Bongyum Manumbi. Need to throw this one in. Peter O'Mahony watching Etzebeth closely, but can't win the line out. Still Hendrickson going for the kick and behind, that being Jaden, but the ball has gone straight into the hands of Munster with a counter-attack. I'd like to think that they would have learnt a little bit from what we saw of the Stormers, how they were kicking the ball away and then allowing the opposition to just come at them and get those line breaks. Craig Casey, back across to the left-hand side, popped in behind Munster. Actually attacking very flat, although Hendrickson getting beaten on the outside. Chance here for Munster. Draw him past. No, instead will go himself, and a big shot coming in on Kilgallen. Now, Gavin Coombs, that looked like a chop to his knee. It looked painful. Little kick in behind. Makazole Mapimpi has to get back there, shoulder to shoulder, and they will score the try. That wasn't even supposed to be the Irish national anthem, but the try out wide for Kelvin Nash. I should have picked him. I went with Alex Nankervel for the first Munster try. I keep on getting close, but not quite. This may be strange, but unless it's a bot game, I prefer listening to Hamish commentating. And then tomorrow I will watch the game. You'll learn more that way. Does that make sense? It does make sense. Some people, honestly, like some competitions, they care absolutely nothing about what happens in the game, but they just come for a chat about the rugby because, you know, a lot of games and tournaments get covered in the chat throughout the 2 minutes. Well, sorry, the 2 hours, I should say. Claudette should announce herself soon, says Craig. What did I say? Munster score first, says Bronwyn. I did say that too, but sadly I picked the wrong player. I went with Nankervel rather than Calvin Nash out wide. Jack Crowley now with the opportunity to add the extra 2. And Mapimpi is losing some speed, says Christopher. And a great kick from the sideline goes over and makes the score after the 10 minutes, 7-0 in favour of the away side. Now, my prediction was Munster to score the first try, but then I predicted the Sharks to score the next 2. I think Mapimpi, I don't know if it was so much the speed factor there, but just the way that the ball was bouncing. I think he kept on changing directions and just hesitated a little bit, which you can't really afford to do when you've got a guy full steam ahead towards your try line. The thing is, the normal commentary is usually biased, where you are not. Says Miller. And that's one thing that we've tried to do right from the start is not call it in favour of either side, just because, or else you only really, like, let's say, for instance, in this game, if I was just full on, like, praising Munster the whole time, like, it's no fun for the guys who are supporting the Sharks. That one's going to go into Dutch. Can you show us the game? Sadly, not. YouTube copyright does exist, which means that you won't be able to find it on YouTube. But earlier on, we did let people know how they could watch it for free, but because you're mean, we won't let you know. Pays to be nice. They will score again. You will see, says Bronwyn. And come on, Sharks, says Sakabula. And think Mapimpi is the oldest wing in the comp. Says Sakabula there. Lineouts one so far. We've seen 4-1 by the Sharks. Nicely claimed by Peter O'Mahony. Now going back across to the right-hand side. Tack and run forward from John Hodnett. And Sharks always start extremely poor. Wait till the 75th minute to see magic. Well, that's the thing. They've still got their scrum to fall back on. No matter what happens throughout this first half, those scrum penalties can change the game. That was almost a steal for Michael Milne. Now all drop ball from Vincent to Chuka. Is it starting? In terms of those handling errors. Exactly, Xander, says cool story, bro. And here we go, says Browan. And also the Sharks love winning from behind like the Bulls, says Miller. Yeah, it's normally those massive forward packs that can get the job done. Maybe Pimpy needs new spark plugs, says Ruth. But Jason Jenkins was a bit of a bullet pass, a bit too high. Is there a bomb squad bench? There isn't. It's a 5-3 for both of these sides. They have decided to opt for a bit more security and a bit more safety later on in the game, having that extra back as an option. And that could also be down to the amount of injuries that we've actually seen as of late across the board. The last thing that you want is to have to play a guy out of position because you don't have someone to be able to replace him. Speaking of replacements, Emil van Heeren, he will make his way onto the field. That is for Jason Jenkins after only the 12 minutes. Van Heeren has had quite a few starting chances. I don't know why they went with Jenkins at the start instead, but hasn't really paid off. What is wrong with Jason Jenkins? I think it's an HIA, by the way, that the medic was kind of shuffling him through. Sharks are winning scrums. They certainly are. They've got a very strong forward back for Munster. They can't really afford to keep this ball in the scrum. They just have to get it in, get it out, and then start their attack. Now, Sharks need to step up now. I don't think they can do a comeback against Munster just saying, go the Sharks, says Yuraf. And do you recognise my name? I'm the most rugby streams. Or I'm on most rugby streams from sunny England. Says Jack, I certainly do. If I'm correct, you also normally have a couple bets on games every once in a while. Unless that was a different Jack or a different Lewis. But I believe that is you, isn't it? Could be wrong, though. Since only one South African team can go through to the final, I'd rather want the Bulls there so the Sharks can let it go now. Here's Albert now kicked him behind from Munster. Looking for some territory. Oh, stepping into touch for Apalele Fasi. He was trying his best to stay in the field of play. I have £100 on the Sharks. That probably answers that sort of things. Then if it's the right guy. 13 and a half minutes gone already in this quarter final. And Sharks last played well when Techman was captain, says KV. Small things going against the Sharks at the moment, says Sakabula. A line-out throw. Niall Scannell gets it into Peter O'Mahony, and the rolling maul now being attempted by Munster. Now, the thing is, no matter how many times Munster score early, though, we look at that game that took place between the Bulls and Edinburgh, where the Edinburgh side had 2 tries on the board before the Bulls had 1. And it was still the Bulls who finished the job off. Jean Klein hangs on to that one. 10 metres out from the line. Peter O'Mahony goes up to Tyburn. A few Irish internationals across this Munster side and a few men going on a British and Irish Lions tour in the near future. Gavin Coombs driven backwards in a 2-man tackle by Nishier and Van Heeren. All still there, though, for Munster after 5 phases. As things stand, that's a £0 return, Jack, says Christopher. Now back across to the right-hand side, managing to find the offload again for Coombs. Looking both ways. KC decides right is the better option. Michael Milne gets that little bit closer, and the penalty goes the way of Munster. It sounds like you were scared to play the Sharks in the semi-final, Christopher Vett. You must be a Bull supporter, says Miller. Yeah, Bulls or nothing, even though I'm a Sharktonian, says Cool Story. Now, it looks like they're actually going to take on the shot at the post here, Munster, rather than going for the corner again. And go Sharks, go, says Marion. And who is Munster's coach? I'll quickly, Munster Rugby coach. Clayton, wait. Okay, Clayton McMillan next year. Mutual agreement, it is Graham Roundtree. No, that's in 2022. Men's coach Niall O'Donovan. That's surely not his name. Okay, it might be harder to find who the coach is than I thought. But now, chance to go over, and kick has missed for Munster. That was a relatively straightforward one for Jack Crowley, but he has not struck it cleanly. Are we going to go to watch game live? If you've got a VPN, you can set yourself to New Zealand and find it on TVNZ Plus, or you can set yourself to Ireland. How did he miss you? I have no idea. That was a nice, easy one for Crowley. But then that also is a big problem when you look at the fact that they could have gone for an attack. They were 5 meters out from the line, but decided instead, no, we'll take the easy 3. We have got there, how did he miss it? I read that one. I'm a Bull supporter indeed. And yes, the Sharks are our bogey team. I'd much rather face Munster, says Christopher. But now kicked him behind from Crowley, looking for, won't be a 50-22, but it's a very nice kick. Let's be friends again. I forgive you. I'm just that kind of guy. I didn't realise we weren't friends. And Munster playing clever rugby. Yeah, just strategically kicking it in behind. Tell you what, it was only about a metre in the field of play. Had to be very careful not to boot that one out on the full. Already 17 minutes have passed in this matchup. I feel like we're going to see this game absolutely fly by. Bongi Umbanambi with the line out once again, sticking his hand out, saying that the line out's not set properly. As my father told me at under 15, men who miss don't breed well. Says Katzenau, and the 19 combo of Munster could be the difference tonight, says Eric. Yeah, already a little bit of pressure on Jaden and Jordan Hendrickse. Let's see, Hendrickse missed that tackle earlier on that led to Munster's try. Now kick downfield from Jaden. Put it into touch. You can't even say Jay Hendrickse because they are, of course, both starting with the J. So you've got to do the full name basis. Just showing there, Jaden Hendrickse has 49 career appearances. So if they make it through to the next stage of the comp, he will get himself his 50th cap. But if they fail, he'll have to wait till next season. Line out throw here for Niles Scannell again. And nicely claimed by Gavin Coombs. Slap back, that's another knock on. Oh no, in fact, I've said it's gone backwards off Emil van Heeren. I thought he initially, oh no, now they've called it as that knock on. Yeah, initially I thought he did knock it forward, then knock it back. And it seems like the TMO or the touch judge did get involved. We have good there, Hamish. Please mute these babies who ask where can they watch. Can't AI help? Not everyone knows how to use AI. I don't know how to use AI, to be fair. And to be fair as well, if they made it easier to find these games live without it being behind a paywall half the time, they wouldn't have to ask. They'd just be able to find it a lot easier. But yeah, if you have a VPN, you can watch it free to air. If not, unfortunately, it's only based off subscription platforms. We have got there, they drive me crazy week in, week out, year in, year out. CSKV, if it makes you feel better, we've probably answered that question, I would say, over 10,000 times in the time that we've done live streams. Blair Murray was lightning in the Scarlets game. He was sensational in that number 15 jersey. Also a great performance from Hugo Keenan, both 15s doing well. Villy LaRue having a standout game for the Bulls. And Wes Hoosen, actually. It must just be a day for number 15s to stand up. So in that case, Staka Abrahams, Apelele Fasi, those two, going to have to go for it. I got a VPN for UK and Australia. What about New Zealand, Alan? Have you got a VPN for New Zealand? For the UK, you might be able to watch this game for free, though, if you do set yourself there. Staka Abrahams. Now over the ball, Jaden Hendrickse and Vincent Koch, and neither of them were moving. Unfortunately, no. So yeah, I'd recommend going on the URC website and seeing the where to watch section to see what options there are in the UK. And we have got there, you can do a pin post with that info. We've tried that. We've also had a message going across the bottom. And if anything, people ask more when they see that message, which almost sounds crazy, but it's actually what happened. When we did try and have it up for a few streams in the past, it just got talked about more than the game. But just getting over the ball there, Jaden, as well as Vincent Koch. And we have got there in the 80s. Ties, if the Sharks lost, we went in mourning, Henry on Andre's Day for a week, but now it's just professional playing for whoever pays them the most. Nicely taken. Around the halfway line for Emil van Heeren, trying to ask for a bit of momentum. But it looks like for now the Sharks aren't really going anywhere. They're being told to use it once. Now they're being told to use it. Hendrickse having to go for the box kick after a well-defended Munster maul, and that's going to be a great take under the high ball, but wrestled to the ground was Kilgallen. Back to the short side. Oh, referee telling players to get out of it. Looks like Eben was having a bit of a scuffle with someone. And we have got there, most people who ask want to illegally stream. Says Katzenell. Told me I'm below average looking when I sent a photo to the app. That is pretty brutal, isn't it? Right, the ball was stripped, so it is going to be play on the Sharks now with possession, and Emil van Heeren this time was not expecting the pass. Ends up putting it down. I bought a smart box, thousands of channel, mostly from the US. They show lots of rugby games from most leagues on the sports channel, says Christopher DeVette. And really disappointing Sharks to slip it in away this early in the game, says Josh. Yeah, and it could have been worse for them, though. They could have been 10-0 down, but yeah, Emil van Heeren did not think he was getting that pass from Eben Etzebeth. To be fair, I don't think anyone in that position would have been expecting them not to shovel it back. Wild pass from Eben, says Eric. And Jaden really is poor. No game management, slow delivery, says James. And congrats Lukanu Arm for his 100th cap. As shown, Gavin Coons ranked number 27 in the overall URC power rankings. Just getting a little bit of strapping on his foot. At this point in time, quite a bit of strapping actually. I thought it was just a bit for a start, but they're still going. If you're not expecting the ball, you shouldn't be on the pitch, says Jimbo. Munster not ahead by 14 points last 10 minutes, then Sharks will take it, says Eric. And be back, got to collect some pizza from 4-Star. We'll be back in a bit. 4-Star sounds fancy, but I have no idea what 4-Star is. Is that like the equivalent of Pizza Hut? Munster are pathetic. They should step up. They are too comfortable. They're currently winning 7-0. So I feel like away from home, they're probably not doing awfully, are they? Already we are 22 minutes through this quarter final. The winner will face the Bulls at Loftus. The loser. This is the end of their competition, but the time will now be back on. Decent crowd here. Same as Domino's. So as in like it's actually Domino's or it's a pizza chain like Domino's? Or Pizza Hut. Okay, so it's like a separate one. I get you. But now, it's going to be the scrum feed here. Win predictor at the moment actually has 65% for Munster. Lack of composure from the Sharks. Absolute nonsense rhythm to their game. Need to keep it tight, says James. And Farsi is going to have a blinder to take Villy's 15 jersey. Isn't it crazy how a couple of weeks has changed a lot of people's opinions, though? Like, it wasn't too long ago people were saying Villy shouldn't get his 100. I felt the whole way, though, that he should. Oh, nice run from Ethan Hooker. Gets on the outside, and just misses the kick and does knock the ball on. Tried to go for the kick. A grubber it was, but just misses it. We have got there, Hamish. You might be able to see Auroras tomorrow night from New Zealand. Big CME heading to Earth from the sun, says Albert. I think once I go to sleep today, I probably won't wake up till like Tuesday. But, yeah, if we're up, we'll have a geeze at it, I guess. Beat 4 men first, says Jimbo. But, yeah, it was all for nothing. You know, has a massive run, does all the hard work, just to then give the ball straight back to Munster. AI gave you an 8.1. That's very generous from the AI. You must have found a decent photo, I would assume. Mate, we've been being up. Or we've seen being up doesn't mean anything, especially for away teams, says Gatson now, but it is still early in the matchup. Of course, what matters is what the score is at 80 minutes, and Munster do still have time to be able to build into it. Second yawn, says a rough. Now, ball going to be fed in by Craig Casey. Oh, no, decides against it, and the free kick goes the way of Munster, but he wasn't quite on the mark. Since I've been living in Taiwan, I've realised that pineapple on pizza isn't the worst thing you can put on it, says Christopher. AI is a liar, says Seller. I feel like, is that from my rating that he found out? I'd assume that is, isn't it? I'd agree. What's the territory percentage between the Sharks and Munster? Hamish, says Miller. At the moment, we will quickly get that up for you. Sharks, Munster, if it loads, hopefully, there we go. Stats, territory at the moment is 73% in favour of Munster, and they've also had 66% possession. Hampshire, do you do this full time? I do not know. Working a normal job during the week. This is more of the hobby than anything. Of course, it would be brilliant to be able to do it full time, but we can't in terms of financially. 15 minutes remaining in this first half. Crowley went up for a big shot coming in from Eman Etzebeth though to drive him into touch. And Munster dominate territory, says Sakabula. And should have penalised Casey there for not getting it in, says Jimbo. Although I think he won the free kick from the fact that the scrum was a bit skew-whiffed. Craig Casey, has to duck under the arm of Makazole Mapimpi. I found a ping pong in my pizza in Bangkok. To this day, not sure where it came from. Maybe a nearby table of some sort. Could have been playing and then someone spiked it a bit hard. Wake up, Sharks, please. Says Marion. That's a good take from Makazole Mapimpi under the high ball. Bit of a counter-attack coming from Munster, but they've lost their footing. And good evening, everyone, says Wendy. Welcome in. I've had a pizza with octopus hearts and taro and sweet corn and mayo all on the same pizza. Did someone just decide, you know what, I'm feeling creative today? And they just went, I can find random things. But where do you get an octopus heart? From an octopus, but I'm sure they're not readily available, surely. But say at over 100k subscribers, at what point can you do this full time? Probably not even then, I would say. But like I've kind of accepted that at this point in time, that, you know, the full-time job alongside it, like it would be cool to be able to do part-time and part-time, but even that at the moment, like any money that the channel makes goes back into the channel, plus some out of my own pocket to be able to fund, subscriptions and whatnot. But I'm more than happy to do it. And I hope you didn't eat the pizza, says Suckabulla. Morning Wendy, says Spider-Mick, and something not right about that pizza. That is for sure. Like, octopus heart's one thing, and then you just chuck in mayo and sweet corn and taro and everything else. Looks like a bit of an injury here for Niall Scannell. 145 career appearances for Munster. He's got a URC title under his belt. Wouldn't mind a second here. Would be the perfect send-off as well for Peter O'Mahony when he eventually does hang up the boots. You're our voice of live rugby in South Africa. Hamish, thank you. Says world champs twice. And we're good. Bulls any good, conceded 33 points. They had their shaky moments. They conceded early on in that game. But the second half, they really did brilliantly in the first kind of 15 or so minutes. Handling errors at the moment. I mentioned about the Sharks saying that they couldn't have more than 15 or have 15 like they had last week. They've already had 9. And we're only 27 and a half minutes through. Something just isn't working in the transition between ball in hand to the next set of hands. It's just going down far too often. Everything tastes better with mayo, says James. And pizza for kids. Real people don't eat pizza, says Spider Mick. Is that right? I feel like you've just offended every single Italian in the world. But now nicely taken by Craig Casey. It was a good charge down from Eman Etzebeth initially, but just couldn't quite regather it. Sharks need to score here, says Sakabula. Yeah, or if they're not going to be able to score for the next little while, just making sure that their opposition don't score would be the big one. Craig Casey, this time not charged down by Eman Etzebeth. And that one's going to be knocked on by Calvin Nash, the lone try scorer of this quarter final. I don't know why we're still playing. There was a clear knock on. And they are going to go back for it. Let's go, boys, says Ruth. And we have got Bulls 9 and 10. We're asleep throughout the first half. Jake revved them at halftime. Billy was the only creator throughout first half and continued his magic in the second year. He was, like, honestly, I'm trying to think, but last couple years, I don't think we've seen Billy LaRue play that good of a game. Like, he was just absolutely insane with what he was able to do. The creation of the gaps, just effortlessly transitioning from 10 to 15 when needed. Like, he was just... Oh, he had one cross kick that went into touch, so maybe I'm being a bit too praising of him. But honestly, he was phenomenal. Yep, Billy saved the Bulls today. Brilliant today. And we have got their pizza was amazing at school lunch in England before Jamie Oliver ruined everything. What's your favourite food to watch rugby? I don't really get to watch a lot of games without food, with food, because normally I'm talking through them. Can't we watch on your TV? Sadly, that would be illegal, and I would probably get sued or get done for copyright infringement. We'd at least get banned for 3 months off YouTube, though, is the minimum if you get caught. Now, Jaden Hendrickse puts the scrum in. Front rows have gone down, but the advantage in favour of the Sharks now. Hendrickse finds the ball to Apalele Fasi. He had to take it slightly behind him, but now has got that momentum, and he's dropped it again. You would think that the Sharks are playing with a different ball to everyone else over the last few weeks. When Hamish pretends to sneeze, he takes a bite of pizza. Says, good story, bro. Villy will be good to play when the Box play young fly halves, says Christopher. And Plumtree game plan to lose. Too complicated. If the Sharks lose today, Plumtree or Plum is history, says David. Honestly, if you're the coach and you're watching your team each week drop the ball 20 times, you probably don't mind leaving. Because, it's got to be so frustrating when you give them tactics and you have a plan, and every time they try and use the backline, they just drop the ball cold. Not sure Plumtree has any game plan, says James. The actual F, says Miller. It looks like they are actually going to opt for the 3 points here for Jordan Hendrickse. Yes, agreed, Sharks need to score. Maybe the Sharks need to keep it simple, but even just the draw and pass, they're dropping the ball each time. It's really weird, to say the least. But first kick of the match for Jordan Hendrickse. A little bit of cheering. Says, cool story. Currently sitting 31 minutes through this fixture. The quarter final, the last one of the URC. 3 other sides have already been confirmed. The Bulls, Glasgow, and Leinster. And the Sharks have missed it. Away to the side for Jordan Hendrickse. So the score will remain at 0 points to 7. Can't hang on. Or can't hang it all on, Jono. He is limited with who he can select, both for club and for game day, says PJ. And also lack of composure, says James. And Plumtree should eat an apple from the tree, says Kevin. And how to watch for free. If you are in New Zealand, it's on TVNZ+. If you're in Ireland, it's on R4G or RG4, I think it's called. This guy still can't kick, says Rough. But now, Hendrickse across to Bongi Umbanambi. Jordan Hendrickse now involved, goes off to Makazole Mapimpi. Oh, that's a big run. And Lokanyo Arm just absolutely battering the man out on the left wing for this game, Kilgallen. A TG4, says Corin. And there's some people in the crowd must have thought he got it over. Says, cool story. If the Sharks win, who gets the home semi-final? It would be the Bulls, who have that home semi, seeing as they came in as second ranked, whereas the Sharks were third and Munster were 6th. Jaden is the slowest scrum half ever. Finley Christie sometimes would like to say otherwise. And Sharks please score to come into the game, says Lionel, and that is now in the possession of the home team. 33 minutes through. They are going away to the left-hand side. Makazole Mapimpi waiting for it patiently out on the wing. Now he has got possession. Charging forward into the 22. Extremely well to stay in the field of play. Sharks, please score. And come on, boys, do it. Says world champs twice, 15 metres out from the line. Back across to the right, big shot on Oxnashire. Now Hendrickse, skip pass off to Andre Esterhuizen on this left-hand side. Tyburn went for the steal. Doesn't get it. This is good phase play by the Sharks, but unfortunately the trend of the last few weeks has been they do a few phases and then someone puts the ball down. But in this case, the Sharks will be hoping they put it down over the try line for their first of the match. Big shot on Vincent Koch. Gets driven backwards by Hodnett. And Omani. 8 phases in a row here for the Sharks. This is the most that they have had throughout this match. Hendrickse passes it across to Jordan. Hangs on to it rather than shoveling it on. Spot on. I must have Villy on the pitch when Sasha plays. Even Wilkinson needed cat, albeit in 2012, or sorry, at 12 to win 2003 World Cup. Years ago, we had Rugby Live on SABC. When second half starts, Rugby Live will start showing first half. Don't know why it was called live. Now only 5 metres out from their own line here. Munster have managed to take the ball. And ball's on Loftus semi-final, says Jackals World. Now into the pocket. Jack Crowley has plenty of time to be able to get his angle right. And hasn't managed to find touch with it. Now running for Jordan Hendrickse. Thought about offloading, but again, decides against the pass. Makazole Mapimpi almost through, puts in the fend. And he's only a few metres out. What a sensational run from the experienced winger. Interception for Munster, though. A floaty pass from Jordan Hendrickse. And now Munster take it back again. However, there Villy looks to be in perfect frame of mind to coach the younger guys, says Christopher. Now Crowley this time make sure that the ball goes out, but that was a golden chance for the Sharks that they have once again squandered. Hendrickse, just a real lobby, slow, methodical looking pass, and Tyburn read it like a book. You can see the Shark supporters in the stands. They are very frustrated with what they are witnessing. The whole Shark supporters stop panicking. Sharks will win. Give them time to calm their nerves. Looks like Tyburn might have done himself a little bit of damage after getting that steal. Great attack and defence there. Great stuff. Mapimpi on fire, says Eric. Sharks 9 sucks, says Zakabula. And a floaty of the year. So floaty wouldn't look wrong in a toilet, says Aref, who squandered the try for the Sharks. It was the pass from Jaden Hendrickse. He was trying to find Lukan Yoam, but it was just too optimistic that close to the try line. And mind-numbing play, says James. But yeah, brilliant run from Makazole Mapimpi. All but did all the work himself to be able to get through. And we see it there from Hendrickse, just a bit too dimensional in that case with that pass. Mapimpi playing his heart out. Why are the Hendrickses playing for the box? I mean, they've had some decent moments before, but I just feel like at the moment, based off current form, they are a little bit further down the list, aren't they? Oh. Right, timer's back on. I think they were checking for some foul play there, but they didn't find any, so that's great news. It's the last thing that we want in this quarterfinal with how close it is at the moment is someone getting a yellow or a red card. It's going to be the line out now for the Sharks. Come on, the Sharks, says Craig. Thrown in, nicely taken by Ebenezer. James Fenter goes off to Hendrickse. Andre Esterhuizen almost manages to get through a gap again. They are creating chances here, the Sharks, but it's whether or not they can finish off the starts. Oh, Oxnashire dropping the ball. You know, this is a guy who in international rugby was in the running for player of the year, yet put on a Sharks kit. And just an open pass. Another handling error. And OMG says Sal and TMO always wants to quickly check something, says Xander. And you're spot on about this being the closest game of the weekend, says Christopher. And if two teams are coming second and third on the log, they shouldn't have to cancel one or the other out before the final. So who should they face then, in that case? Now running forward here for Hendrickse, looking for the pass, finds up and Lelefasi across a Bungio Manami Khaleesi. Now this is better from the Sharks, moving it on. Nice hands. Khaleesi though tries to pass it and it goes in behind Ethan Hooker, which means it is going to be the Munster line out. Second half only, Sharks, says Julian. I couldn't finish their dinner, says Corin. Yeah, just another mistake from the stacked Sharks side. Khaleesi not getting it to Hooker. And we have got this is the worst from the Sharks. And did Jake get Jake to do the halftime pep talk? Says Eric. So maybe a bit of an injury here for Spongy or Manambi. And I don't think it's too bad of an injury. I think it's just tape going on to the leg. Definitely better sustained pressure from the Sharks. Says Jimbo, yeah, they've at least got themselves a little bit of possession in just the last 10 minutes or so. Second and third won't face off, and the semis, Sharks won't make it, says Christopher. But yeah, in this competition, it doesn't actually matter in terms of where you are ranked because the quarterfinals have already determined who's playing who. In fact, this one's probably a better one to look at. No matter what happens, whether it's in this side of the draw, it would be 6 versus 7. Like, they still can't end up changing who's playing who, if that makes sense. So Leinster and Glasgow have confirmed their spots. Bulls have confirmed the home semi. Now it's just a question of who will be there with them. Bongi needed some magic water, and this is not looking good for the Sharks going into next week's game. Says Ruff. Well, to be fair, they've only got a next week's game if they right some of these wrongs and they do get back into this fixture. Come on, Sharks. I will bite all my nails. That's bundled into touch. Great defence coming from the Sharks. It's a Beth getting right in it to Chuka as well. And exactly says you're off. Where's Grant Williams? Still with an injury problem, unfortunately. He's been dealing with it for quite some time. Doesn't seem like it is actually getting too much better. And Sharks always good against the Bulls. They are hyper motivated against the Bulls, says Eric. And not much noise here, says Cool Story. That's probably because the crowd have been almost stunned to silence with the amount of errors they are seeing from their side. Once again, mistake made at line-out time. Munster take it back. Crowley goes on the outside to Nankerville. Has numbers to the right, but instead will skip around Jordan Hendrickse. Bit of a counter-ruck coming from the Sharks. Hendricks is told to get out of it. He was saying, I can't, the man's holding me. Now, another big run forward from Michael Milne. Come on, the Sharks, you're playing like sardines, says Sue Walsh. And they have got currently the advantage. I think that might have been just for a knock-on, was it? Yep, advantage is now over. Ball's going high. Under it is going to be the man out on the left wing, Kilgallen. Now, Craig Casey isolating himself. Tygburn was not ready for that pass at all. I think Casey just had a bit of a confused moment. Will you do table after this match? Will I do table? As in like showing who's where? Pretty much at this point in time, it's going to be the winner of this game facing the Bulls. And then on the other side of the situation, it is the Glasgow Warriors taking on Leinster and Ireland. Scrums won so far. We've seen 5-1 by Munster. They have had a lot more of the feeds, and that is due to the mistakes that we've seen from this Sharks team. Now Hendrickse will have the opportunity to feed this ball in this time. You can hear there the Sharks just trying to fire themselves up. Trying to find that next gear. Only 13 seconds remaining of this first half, which has been a low-scoring one. Munster wouldn't mind going into the half with a lead of 7. Penalty, free kick going the way of the Sharks. Hendrickse going off to Jordan, who almost fumbled it just from getting the pass. Etzebeth running hard at Gavin Coombs. Now Hendrickse goes across to Andre Esterhuizen and sits down Jean Claimber. Tygburn onto it. Told to get out of it though. Etzebeth again hitting the ball up. Great to see that he hasn't had any sort of injury throughout this first half. Auxerre now. Red told to get out of it again. See a Khaleesi with the clean out. Hendrickse going on the inside to his brother. This time now, they almost ended up giving away the penalty in the breakdown yet again for Munster. Auxerre pick and go. Same as the Bulls will be at Loftus regardless of the outcome of this game, right? Correct, yes. And then I believe dependent on the result of Leinster versus Glasgow, the Bulls could theoretically have a home final. But that one's going to be run into touch by Munster as the Sharks decided to go for a grubber in behind. I'm not too sure what they thought was going to happen there, other than Munster getting rid of it and putting it out. But that is a lackluster half from the home side. The Bulls, of course, are going to be the side that one of these two teams challenge. You just wonder, from that first half, have either of them been good enough? Munster getting that early try. Other than that, though, not a huge amount happening in terms of the attack of this Munster side. And Sharks taking this game too lightly, says Leon, and Sharks sound worse than the Stormers. They've had almost more handling errors than the Stormers had in their game already. And we've only had the first half. It could even be a replay of last year, Bulls at Glasgow at Loftus. And of course, that game the Bulls would love redemption in. But yeah, just not the performance at all. That's the thing. I didn't want to expect it. It's how they played last week. And they had moments like it the week prior. But I thought for the playoffs, that was going to be when the Sharks really gelled, when they started getting it right. Ethan Hooker carrying. Says 9HD and a shocking first half from the Sharks. Thank goodness it's only a 7-point deficit. And could it be that the Sharks were pacing themselves in the first half? No. I don't think to pace themselves they decided that they wanted to drop the ball so much, unless it was some sort of tactic to try and slow it down. But no, they just haven't been able to hang on to the ball to save themselves. Munster, you'd think they were playing with a different rugby ball because they have held the ball quite a lot throughout that first half. Munster was favourites before the game. Incorrect, they were underdogs heading into the matchup. I believe about $3.40, which was the same underdog as the Stormers were heading into their game up against Glasgow. But yeah, just far from perfection here, I think is the best way of describing this Sharks game. But the benefit, like it was mentioned in the chat, they are only down by 7. It could have been so much worse. And they've still got time to be able to find a way back into it. I'm ashamed of my team, says Craig. And the Sharks just can't get going and the mistakes don't help, says Salah. Yeah, the stop-start kind of thing from their mistakes is definitely hurting them in terms of being able to find a way back into this contest. And Sharks just need their first score. Yeah, once they get one, normally they get a few more after that. They just need to find that confidence. And to be honest, Glasgow looked the strongest of all the teams from this weekend's games. Yeah, I'd agree. Their attack was phenomenal at times. I've used that word far too much today, but I've seen some really good rugby from some individuals and others from the teams. What is the tackle stats between the Sharks and Munster? Sorry, Hamish, you just have better tools. So in terms of the tackle completion for this first half, as it just quickly is loading, defensively, we have seen 55 tackles made by the Sharks, missing 9 with a tackle completion of 76. And then Munster, they had 44 tackles, 16 missed with a tackle completion of 71. And I think a lot of those tackles were right up the middle when we saw Makazole Mapimpi straightening with his run, or when we saw Andre Esterhuis and Ethan Hooker all trying to find that next gap. But the Sharks actually doing pretty well to bring the territory and position back to around 50-50, because that first 20 minutes, they didn't have a whole lot at all. Penalties conceded, only 6 throughout that first half, 4 against Munster, 2 against the Sharks. And then in terms of players and what they've been able to do, 49 metres made for Kilgallen and 41 metres made for Ethan Hooker, who has also beaten 7 defenders throughout that first half. We've seen 4 offloads from Gavin Coombs, so trying to keep that ball alive for him and his side. And based on bizarre previous Sharks win, it looks like they will win this game. Munster don't have a big enough lead. As Plumtree's strict, he will need to talk hard with the Sharks, or they are out. Yeah, I think this is one of those times where the coach has to really just say, look, boys, like, awful half, we're better than that. And, you know, if you want to win this comp, or if you want to make it to the next stage, go out there and show that you do want to. I was possession for the Sharks in the end, 49% for their possession. So they brought it back quite nicely, because at one point they were only about 30% possession and too many chefs in that kitchen. I don't know how loud Plumtree's voice is. He's going to need a megaphone because they need to hear it loud and clear that this was not their best performance for 40 minutes. Munster, critique for them is probably they did very well to shut down the Sharks, but they didn't really get a huge amount of their own attack going at times. They had 3 clean breaks throughout that half, though. And tries from Hooker and Mapimpi will be the first 2 scores. Says Jimbo, the thing is, my prediction from before the game can still happen. And that was first try for Munster, then the next 2 for the Sharks. I think I said it would be Ethan Hooker and Vincent Tachuka. And the biggest problem is handling errors. Yep, at the moment, they haven't been able to put together enough phases to be able to create those gaps, because we've seen when they get those line breaks, they can be effective. Makazole and Mapimpi all but scoring and paid enough just to appear, not get too involved in the game. See his world chance twice. And also, I have a fuzzy feeling the Sharks were okay with the 7-point lead. Just played out the rest of the half, tiring out Munster. I don't know if they're tiring them out, though. You know, looking at the stats, these 2 sides have made... In fact, Munster have made less tackles than the Sharks. So, if anything, they'll be tiring themselves out. And we have got their Trucy as Lionel. Yeah, turnovers 1-3 for the Sharks. That was one thing that they did quite well, was getting into those breakdowns and trying to force that change. But yeah, big second half around the corner. And I would say a few of the players off the bench, they have to really step up if they want to win this game. The Sharks, Munster, they have to do more of the same, but also add a couple more tries to their tally, or else they might find themselves slightly drifting behind too. But I think that the biggest X factor for Munster is probably going to be Murray's composure later on in the game. For the Sharks, I do think someone like a Pepsi Buthelezi could get 1 or 2 steals. And then also alongside that, I think Yapinka maybe in that pace, or maybe even Francois Fenta, just something to switch it up a little bit. Bradley Davids, he of course has plenty of pace in that number 9 jersey. Whoever wins this game, they will go on to face the Bulls. That has been confirmed at Loftus for that matchup. And then in the other side of things, we do get to see it will be Leinster versus Glasgow as the other semi-final. And they have just said only 7 points, but they are holding on desperately for the Sharks. Comment from the commentators. How is handling always an issue with this team? Don't they learn? Says 9HD. Yeah, I have no idea, because like you look at the handling stats and they've had about 12 throughout that first half compared to Munster, who had maybe like 3 or 4, maybe a little bit closer to 5 or 6. But, you know, it's just completely different. And it's as if, like I said, it's as if they're playing with a different ball or something. Durban can be quite humid and balls are slippery when moist. Munster don't seem to have the problem, though. Yeah, that's the confusing part of it. The fact that it's only the Sharks who have the massive problem. And we have got there, should have played regular players instead of box. Says Leon, what is going on with the Sharks? Such a good team, just not gelling. And who do you support in the URC? I'm pretty impartial when it comes to the URC sides. We've covered a lot of games on the channel throughout the years. Thoroughly entertaining. Seeing 2 great sides go head-to-head. I do have to say both sides here, though, haven't quite found their best gear. But that doesn't mean that they won't be able to. How much time still till the game starts? Second half probably getting underway in about 2 or 3 minutes, I would say, is when they will make their way back out onto the field. What's up, Jaden? Says Tyrone, who drinking game, double shot every time Hamish yawns. And Crowley using the Prendergast goat skill of missing touch with a pen. And did Jason Jenkins come back on? He actually didn't, so Emil van Heerden did stay out there on the park. It is now do or die for these 2 sides. I feel like the Sharks, they have to do what the Bulls did. Bulls were down by a few points up against Edinburgh. They came out firing first 10 minutes, scoring, I think it was 2 tries, then getting the third not long after. That's the type of mentality that the Sharks need. They need to look at this game as a regular season game where they're chasing a bonus point. And that seems to be maybe the mindset switch that might just boost them up that little bit more. Because finals rugby at the moment just seems like it's getting to them a little bit. We have got there, Hamish will look perfect in a light blue Bulls jersey. says Christopher DeVette. And come on, Munster, says Frank. Evan is handing out PKs in the changing room. Yeah, we do see just about to make their way out onto the field, I believe. They're just clearing it at the moment. Or in fact, I think they're doing a bit of running repairs on where the scrums have taken place. But 40 minutes, we will ask the question, yes or no, are the Sharks going to win this game? Now, it's not so much whether or not you support the Sharks, but whether or not you think they do have enough to be able to get it. You look very tired, says Imagination Freaks. Well, to be fair, we have been up since about, what time was that game yesterday? We've been up since about 5:30 a.m. yesterday, so we've been up for 24 hours. During that time, I have covered 6 games of rugby, so we're into about our 12th or so hour of commentating. So I think that's probably why. I would say, and Sharks are a second half side all season. Says Tyrone, I believe in the Sharks, says Miller, or Millia. Oh, sorry, it is Miller. And yes, says Lilia B. Yes, says Albert. Yes, says Ruff. No, says Christopher DeVette. Now, sides making their way back out onto the field. They must improve hand skills. Exactly right. If they don't catch the ball in the second half, they probably aren't going to make it through to that semi-final. They just need a bit of cohesion, a bit of consistency. Playing a little bit of turn down for what at the moment, trying to fire up the crowd as well, which has turned out on numbers for this final. It is fantastic to see. I think the Sharks will have an advantage if it stays close with the experience they have. And they also still have, we've mentioned it multiple times, they have the scrum to fall back on. They've won a lot of scrum penalties throughout this match. So in telling moments, even when they're dropping the ball, they might actually win a scrum against the feed that would actually give them more momentum. And Sharks will win. They have enough in the tank. Says Ruben, and thanks, Hamish. Night. Everyone sees you. See you all next time. And come on, chat 24 hours and only 15 likes. Smash that button. Says Christopher. Yeah, anyone who is new, of course, be sure to hit that subscribe button because we are going to be back next week with some more games of rugby. The Super Rugby playoffs are taking place. The semi-finals of the URC2, in which one of these two sides will be booking their spot. And love the dedication, Hamish. Appreciate it, mate. Says Sai. Now kicking off this one from left to right will be Munster. Who's that bloke? He just handed the mouth guard to Tygburn, I think. He might have forgotten it. In fact, that was Jean Klein. My apologies. And their scrummages off the bench are very good too. Yeah, they just seem to go from strength to strength when it comes to scrums. And good night, Ruth. That was my theory earlier, Hamish. Now you get it. That's they were gassing out Munster's forwards. So you're saying they were dropping the ball on purpose to have scrums. Penalty goes the way of the Sharks now, just outside of their 22. No clear release coming from Munster's game on. Yet is the second half back underway. Only 20 seconds through, and already we have seen the penalty going against Munster. That is now their 5th one against them in this match. Maybe it's a weird tactic, I'll be honest. Like, to purposely try and have handling errors to go into scrums. I mean, maybe they're playing 4D chess while we're all playing checkers. And they're about 3 moves ahead. Will be the line out now, though, for the Sharks. 45 metres out from the Munster line. And let's go the Sharks, says Lilia. And awesome, says Alan. Great. Biltong and Coke now ready for the second half, says Xander. Going long in the line out straight to Vincent Tachuka. Now Jaden Hendrickson gives it off to Jordan, who will go for the kick downfield. The torpedo kick. Little bit too much on it, though. It's in the in-goal area and has to force it down as he wasn't willing to take that risk of Ethan Hooker being able to clean it up. You can sleep after this, says Imaginations. I might do. It will be a bit of a weird one because I might sleep for a couple hours and then just stay up for the rest of the day, or else I'll get on a weird sleeping schedule, or even weirder than we currently are. That doesn't make sense. It's like bombing for peace, says Christopher. And guys, what is going on with the Sharks today really, says Wendy? Yeah, just nowhere near as clinical as we have seen them throughout the early stages of the URC season. Here comes Vincent Chichuka for one of his first carries of the match. They are far from being out of this game, though. Hendrickson back across to Bongi Umbanambi. Jordan Hendrickson trying to go through. Jaden goes off to Apalele Fassi again, going for the grubber, but it goes into touch. Makazole Mapimpi, he was winning the foot race, but just needed a little bit more in terms of being infield for that kick from Fassi. Excluding Rassi, who was the best coach from South Africa currently or historically, says Xander. I feel like that's a much easier question for the South Africans to be able to answer them myself. Do you remember your dreams, Hamish? Sometimes. I do know that I once did commentary in my sleep because my mum thought I was on the phone at like 5 a.m, but it was just that I was commentating a game of rugby that I was imagining. Now, it's going to be the penalty going the way of Munster. I told you earlier, this is one of those times when I'm shouting at the Sharks, says Garnett. And we have their Sharks need to do a balls on Munster here and blitz them in the first 20 minutes, but they haven't found touch there, Munster, after winning the penalty. Now Makazole Mapimpi. If anyone's going to be able to cut open this Munster defence, it is that man. He has already done so earlier in the match. Bongi Umbanambi, 45 metres out from the line. Jordan Hendricks in behind Andre Estes and off to Lucanio Arm, and he's missed the pass, trying to find the offload, but flicks it to absolutely no one. Luckily, though, for the Sharks, they still have possession. I was just going to say, says cool. And now, Jaden Hendricks back into the pocket. This time finds Apalele Fassi. Goes for the high ball. Sio Kolisi trying to chase after it, but it does sit up for Munster. Looked a little bit high from Kolisi. Shot. The Sharks told to get out of it. Only 44 minutes through. Jack Crowley plays half. Looks like he's going to go across to his forwards, and it actually looks like Munster are going to shovel this one onwards a little bit more. It seemed like the kick was going to be coming there. Now Munster have been told to use it. Craig Casey going to pass it across to Stephen Archer, the veteran. How much was Jake and how much was Eddie? Says Christopher DeVette. Told to use it again here for Munster. Craig Casey has Ebenezer right on him. It doesn't get the charge down. Nicely taken by Jaden Hendricks. Apalele Fassi across to Makazole Mapimpi. Asking for the penalty there was the Sharks. I think they're getting a little bit desperate just to try and shift the momentum in this quarter final. Jordan Hendricks again going to the sky. It's the only tactic that the Sharks have at the moment, and they're just giving the ball straight back to Munster. Thika Abrahams runs straight at Fenta. And the Sharks going to lose this one, says James. Now Jack Crowley, he will go for the aerial kick, playing into the hands of the Sharks tactically, and now Makazole Mapimpi running at Tyburn. Being tackled. Jaden Hendricks again looking off to the right-hand side, finds Ebenezer, offloads to Hendricks. Now Fenta shovels it on to Vincent Tichuk, another offload for Ethan Hooker, and he will have the pace, does he? What a step that is, and just over the try line for the Sharks. It's taken a long time, but Ethan Hooker, if anyone was going to do it, it was going to be one of the wings. He beat 7 defenders in the first half. He's beaten about 3 more there. Are the Sharks going to make it or not? Are they the same like the Proteas? Says Raymond. And you called it, says Lilia B. Yeah, now next try, if it's Vincent Tichuka, I was all but 100% right. But of course I got the first one wrong, so that's only 66%, isn't it? But Ebenezer going for the offload, keeping the ball alive and avoiding those breakdowns. Vincent Tichuka getting a great flick pass on to Ethan Hooker, who just showed off his pace. And I think there was a defensive error coming from, it was either Calvin Nash or Craig Casey. Finally, is the try awarded? Are they checking something? This try has been awarded. And the Sharks now sitting 7-all in this matchup. It's progress 66%. And Hooker scoring at Kingsmead reminds me of the 80s. Says James. Yeah, you're like a minute in the future, says Christopher DeZella. Now, Munster ready to kick this one off again, but not the start to the second half. Similar to the game between the Bulls and Edinburgh. South African side's coming out with a lot more intent throughout the second half. Now kicked off again. Taken by Vincent Tichuka inside of his 22. Let's go, says Alan. And they didn't even get a hand on Hooker, not a finger, says Jimbo. And Sharks is awake, says Julian Moses. And yes, boys, come on, says Josh. And it's the one that maybe will change this game for the Sharks. Perhaps they become more clinical. Eben Etzebeth going up for that ball. Going to be claimed by Munster right next to the sideline and bundled into touch. The Sharks, they're thinking about taking it quickly, but they weren't behind the mark for Makazole Mapimpi. Do you practice the pronunciation of South African names? I think it's just from doing so many games that we've gotten used to saying a lot of them. But, yeah, like every once in a while we do mispronounce one, but you guys are pretty quick to correct it and help us out with the guys that we're saying wrong. But Makazole Mapimpi, quite the start to this game. Does deserve a try. We've seen one on the other wing for Ethan Hooker. Thrown in. Very lobby ball from Bongi Umbanambi. A little bit of a trick play, you could say. Ox Nishere. John Hodnick getting out of that breakdown. I don't care what anyone says. There is a 14 Sharks and 1 Terminator. That is Eben, says Kevin. Hamish's grandmother is Namibian, so he has some idea. That's just not true at all. Sitting 22 metres out from their line now for the Sharks. Makazole Mapimpi goes through, but stolen there, Craig Casey. He's saying he was tackled off the ball by Vincent Tichuka. But it was almost an interception pass thrown again there. I think Craig Casey's trying to say that he was jersey scragged after getting rid of the possession. And professional rugby destroying the true spirit of the Sharks. Nuss said not in another 100 years. And more Sharks go. There's a Marthinus there too. Although, sorry, that was actually Lionel. Who do you think will win? My prediction before the game, I went with the Sharks, but I did say if they had as many handling errors as they had last week, they would be in trouble. They have had as many handling errors as they had last week, but for now, they are sitting 7-all. Having a much better start to the second half than they did the first. Sharks need to play a Munster's half, playing risky rugby in their own 22. Says Sakabola. Looks like Umbanambi was down with another injury there, but I think he will be getting back up and continuing. We've got Fezambate as the replacement for him. And Casey grabbed by the Fitbit. Also, we've got the Oh No Way. I think you're really good at pronunciation, says Cool Story. Speak Nairobian, says Spider Meek. Now scrum somewhere that they have been quite dominant in this contest, the Sharks. Still with the 30 minutes remaining on the clock, plenty of time for a change in the lead. These two sides do stay even, though at the end of the full time we will go to extra time, which is an extra 20 minutes. Penalty goes the way of the Sharks. Their scrum, it's going to be the difference maker. Munster scrum crumbling, says Sakabola. And Ox says a Jimbo there. My grandfather was a hooker for the Springboks in the 60s. Piston Fun Vake. And the worst by the Sharks I've ever seen, says Craig. The worst you've ever seen is quite the bold statement. Definitely with some of the games that we've seen from the Sharks as of late. But yeah, not picking the best time to have a few big errors. Last 5 penalties conceded. We have seen 4 of which going against Munster, but the line-out is successful for the Sharks again. Andre Esterhuizen powering forward to 40 metres out. Hendrickse back to Bongi Umbanambi, already has heavy strapping on, I think, both of those boots. Now Vincent Tichuka flicks it out the back door to Jordan Hendrickse. A little bit of skill there from the Sharks backline. Makazole Mapimpi. I think he might have needed to pass that, but instead does get tackled. Cheering for some reasons, their score story. Brian Sharks lost to the Hurricanes 56 points to 3 once upon a time. Says Kevin. And when you're visiting South Africa, says James, probably not for a little while. I was hoping to, at some point, that was a forward pass from Jaden Hendrickse, and it's also knocked on by Sia Khaleesi. Now Thaka Abrahams does get the clearing kick away. But yeah, probably won't be a trip that I can make for a couple years at least, I would say. And the Sharks scrum that Munster. I would have thought Sharks with half a Springboks team would have played better. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. The fact that they've got so many world-class players, yet somehow when they all end up in a Sharks environment, slipping down there for Jordan Hendricks. So I think that's a little bit unfortunate for Tom Farrell, and I don't think anything's going to come from it. Jaden not at his best today. Says Jimbo. A great play and then a handling error each time. Says Sakabula. Yeah, if they can cancel out that handling error at the end of their move, they'll be scoring a lot of tries. Now, short ball, even Etzebeth goes back to Umbanambi after the line out, sitting about 15 metres out from the try line now. Jaden Hendricks, that goes across to Vincent Tuchuka, who's really found his feet in the last about 15 minutes or so. Etzebeth crashes forward. Hendricks, a short ball to Makazoli Mapimpi. Oh, that was almost a risky pass. I don't actually think the man who caught that ball was expecting it. Etzebeth now, another run from the skipper. Hendricks pops it up to Oxnashare. 10 metres out from the line. Umbanambi looks like he's struggling again, except this time it might be his eye that he's having a few troubles with. Attack and run from Lukanyawam, the Centurion. Short ball to James Fenter. 7 metres out from the line here. Once again, pick and go. Sia Khaleesi. 5 metres has become 3. Bongi Umbanambi. Vincent Tuchuka is calling for it. He was our pick to score the second try of the match for the Sharks. Hendricks is full on yelling at the referee. He's got to be very careful as the ball was available at the back of that breakdown. Austin Nishier dragged down 2 metres short. Now counter ruck coming from Munster. There is the new advantage. Big blow of the whistle for offside. And take the 3, says Sakabula, and need to get glue for the Sharks' backs hands. All the South African teams have had too many handling errors this weekend. Right, on the 5 metre line. So this is an opportunity to take the 3, or they might go for the 7. It's finals rugby though. So most teams in this scenario would take the 3, and that's what the Sharks are going to do. Their other option, I think, in that scenario, rather than a quick tap, would have been a scrum, because they have been looking very strong in that department. Scrum halves are mouthy fellows. Yeah, but you got to be careful. The way he was shouting at the ref there. Okay, he's still having a go at Mike Adamson by the sounds of it. Okay, Evan Etzebeth just having a bit of a chat with Mike Adamson there. So that was to do with that breakdown. Adamson said that the Munster player, he felt had rights to that ball at the time where they were complaining about it. That kick has gone over from Jordan Hendricks, and they have now got the lead. If you want to swim with the big fish, watch out for sharks, is the sign there in the stands. And Munster seems stuck in a time warp, says Ruth. Looks like Munster are going to be making a few changes. Is Khaleesi going off the field too? Yes, he is. Khaleesi off for Pepsi Buthelezi. That's a big change at this stage. Of course, that experience that Khaleesi brings to the side. Decided to get rid of him here. Hamish can stay at my grandma's house, but you'll have to pay and not with money. Says, cool story, bro. I see. I'll keep it in mind. Cheap accommodation, isn't it? Jaden Hendrickser, 22 metres out, goes for another high ball. Great take from Mike Haley. Now off to the left here for Munster, their first real attacking chance in quite some time. More cheering. Says, cool story, bro. Do you think that Pepsi will prove that pop or provide that pop? I think so. I think he's done it before. Now backline movement here for Munster. Chance out wide. Charging for great low tackle made by Vincent Tuchuka. Counter ruck coming there from the Sharks, but still on the side of Stephen Archer. Gavin Coombs. It's a pass away to Tyke Burma, who sits down. Ethan Hooker. Crowley. And behind Nankerville, shifting it away to the side here for Munster. One more pass. This could be their chance. Cutting back in and 1 metre short of the try line. Munster are stopped. Casey, he does the lobby pass. That might be a severe knee injury here for the try scorer, Josh Wickerley. He's going to try and limp it off, but that is now the try that gives Munster the lead in this match. Petsu will go full speed to the end. And also, Hamish just has to bring his toothbrush and his tartan. And please let Plumtree get fired after this. You have the South African team with most box, and you cannot beat a mediocre Munster side. I think Plumtree, to be honest, if he gets the blame for this, I'd leave as well, because, you know, a coach can't be blamed for 15 handling errors in a game. Yes, there's tactics, and yes, there's plans, but these guys are professional athletes, and they're catching the ball like 5-year-olds at the moment for the Sharks throughout that first half anyway. Like, only so much weight can go to the coach. Yes, like, you've got a side that should have all the talent in the world, but it's just dropping the ball every 5 seconds. That kick has gone over from Munster, 14 points to 10. It looks like the front row replacements are now making their way on. It's going to be Fezambata, Ntutuku Machunu, and Hanro Jacobs. 3 men that can really add an impact into the scrums. Joe Alvarez has said hello. Welcome in, mate. You are doing extremely well. Hope you're excited for this last 22 minutes of this matchup. Wickerley just getting a little bit of strapping onto that knee after it did get bent in the wrong direction. What are the Sharks' tactics? Mindless kicking from Jaden Hendrickse. The thing is, though, I'm not sure whether or not, like, I'd assume that maybe there's some sort of plan there from Plumtree for the kicking aspect, but it is a tactic that once it hasn't worked, you think they'd go away from it, but they just keep on going, and I don't know whether or not that's just the plan that they have to use with Hendrickse and Hendrickse, that they made an entire blooper reel of Sharks' mistakes at halftime as testimony. The fact that Plumtree is useless, says Daryl. As in, like, he's useless at getting the players to catch the ball, or what's the go there? Because, yes, the tactics have been off a bit for the Sharks, but at times they've got it right. But the biggest problem that they've had is when they create a chance, they drop it. We have got there. This is my first time on your channel, says Joe, so we do appreciate you being here. We are going to be back next week with more matches, the 2 semi-finals of the URC. Good clearing kick from Munster. And our chance here for the Sharks, about 38 metres out from the Munster line. Jaden needs to wake up and consider other career options, says Sakabola. And can't be the coach, they've been sucking since the 90s, says Ruff. We got your mouse, Hamish, says Christopher. One moment, we'll give it a little bit of a shake. And, oh, there we go. It was actually in pretty much the right place. It was when I put it away, put it back in, that it worked. Need to move hooker to centre. And 14-10 says Zlatko. Coach can lead a camel to water, says Cool Story. Peter O'Mahony has also been taken off the field. At a physical contest, 100% on Plumtree. Rassie takes these same players and wins World Cups, says Daryl. I mean, I don't think we're going to be able to convince you otherwise in terms of that there's any blame on anyone else. I think 100% on Plumtree is a pretty harsh statement because, you know, like 100% of the blame can't go to one individual. But if it makes you feel better, if you sack Plumtree and the Sharks somehow win next year, then maybe it was right. But what happens if they suck next year as well? Like, they're not sucking that bad this year either. They've actually been all right. They just, every once in a while, get really poor performances that do knock them down a little bit. Our provinces are notoriously bad compared to the Springboks, says Cool Story. And that happens when you put it back in, says Christopher. Stop blaming the coach. This is all the players' fault, says Salah. And Sharks, please play better, says Lionel. And then the Sharks really need to wake up now, says Miller. Now line out throw for Fezambata. I believe it is his first of the match. Nicely taken by Eben Etzebeth. They suck in on Mashaki, says KV. And do you think the Blues can defeat the Chiefs, who are in good form? I think if anyone was going to cause an upset in that playoff round, it would be the Blues. But, you know, it's going to be tough to do. They do need to play well. But they seem like they're taking a step in the right direction. The Chiefs are in great form, though, too. It's like playing in thick mud, says Ruth. And Khaleesi, what's wrong, says Julian. Yeah, he's already been taken off the field. Decided to get Pepsi Buthelezi out there. Sharks got too many stars. They need a special coach to handle egos, says Kuda. Now Craig Casey again will go for the up and under. Oh, it's a biff all over him, but he was offside by about half a metre or so. Just went a little bit early. I don't think he dummied, but you were offside, was the comment there from Mike Adamson. And Plumtree not to blame, says Chop Gun. Okay, Kevin says Ruth. And too, Rusty knows how to handle them. Plum, not so much, says Sakabula. And you're just getting a little bit too quick there, Ebenezer, for trying to get up and charge it down. He's been all over Casey throughout this matchup. And yes, says Patrick. He's been successful with the Sharks previously, says Chop Gun. And humidity high. How did the 90s team do in better? I'll do it better in the semi-amateur era, says KV. Now, the last quarter of the contest is upon us. How are the crowd? They are still loud, trying to get behind their side. They've had a frustrating watch for the first 40, but a much better player. Oh, slip there at the back for Makazole Mapimpi in the in-goal area. That may be the try to Munster. They'll have to check that, but that might have just been a massive slip for Makazole Mapimpi. He's been slipping through tackles all day when he's on attack. That may have been his biggest slip of the game. There might be a knock-on. Players cannot catch a ball, cannot contest the high ball, no cohesion, cannot defend, no game plan, and it's not the coach. Exact same players win World Cups with Rassi. How's it not the coach, says Daryl. That is a brilliant finish there. But the question is, was there a knock-on prior to that? Right, there was no knock-on, and it is a try, ladies and gentlemen, for Munster, which now gives them the lead of the 9 points. And Mapimpi WTF, says Christopher. It's unfortunate, because honestly, he was working towards man of the match. And that kick has snuck over from Crowley, so adding the additional 2, making the score now 10 points to 21. And not the coach-player attitude, says KV. And coach needs to down a whiskey. You should watch some of their practice sessions. They don't make these errors. Says Lilia B, and there is going to be another penalty. This time, though, going the way of the Sharks. And just like that, maybe one South African team left. Although knock-on and an offside going against Munster. This is the Sharks' chance to fire straight back with a try of their own. Like they've said, they need to execute here. I think the lead is too much. Sharks probably going down here, says Xander. And Sharks to win, you heard it here, says Jimbo. And yeah, they're in a perfect position to score a try here. 5 metres out from the line, unless something really badly goes wrong. They should be able to get this rolling ball in the right direction. Here, players have a better attitude with a different coach. Explain that. Says Daryl, I wouldn't want to mess with Rassi. I'll tell you that right now, because if you're dealing with a guy who can be in charge of the Spoks side for multiple years in a row, do you think they're really going to try and push him and try and talk to him probably the way that they're able to get away with Plumtree? Rassi is the type of guy who will sack you from a side because he doesn't like you. Plumtree is the type of guy who still tries to find a way of keeping the guys in. So, I think it is a little bit down to attitude of the players and, maybe coming into the games because they're all boxed, because they are world champions, they expect to win games easier, and sometimes they just don't do the basics right. However, there, do you attend the practice session? Says James, and there will be one South African team left, the best balls, says Jason Bock. And skills coach is not the same as head coach in any case, says KV. And I think this lead is too much, says Xander. Once again, it's going to be a 5 metre line out. Now moving forward. Also, because Springboks go out all out in big games. Exactly right. You see what happens in South Africa when the Boks are playing. The whole country, in terms of the rugby supporters, all stop and watch. And you've got that weight of the nation on your shoulders. For the provincial stuff, sometimes we just don't see that same killer mentality from some of the big players. Now, Jaden Hendrickse going up to James Fenter 5 metres out from the line. Ibenetsabev searching for this ball. This is not... yes, Ruth, a Mexican in the Middle East. Says Uraf, and the box of trash. Says Joe, and tempted to see Bulls versus Munster next week at the stadium. Says LMD. Now, Intotoku Machunu gets that a little bit closer. 5 metres from the line now. Jaden Hendrickson pops it up to Fezambata. Who will be the man that crosses the try line? Sharks never failed to disappoint, says Titanium. They may just have enough time to be able to get back into it. 2 metres out from the line. The crowd trying their absolute best to be able to get over, but they're short. And it will be another penalty. Right, this must almost be the last warning in terms of Munster. You always practice with old slippery balls, even with Vaseline on the hands of the balls. Never brand new balls in game situation. These balls, these guys have basic handling errors. Says Xander. As if it's not the coach explained, Al Rassi won 2 World Cups. Al Hinko Smith took a weak Glasgow side, made them contenders for the URC. Says Daryl. I did explain it before about the Rassi situation, but I feel like no matter what I say, you're going to say it's wrong. So I feel like there's no point trying to reason with you. So if you think Plumtree's the main problem, then sack him. See what happens. Maybe the next coach will do better. Maybe the next coach will do worse. But either way, you're not going to change your opinions on anything. So there's no point. We have these Sharks are doing bad, says Mohadeen. Sharks are disappointing until they win. Says cool story as the referee dropped his cards. Where is the yellow? Yeah, we haven't seen a yellow card come as of yet. But even Etzebev, an ugly shiner here for him. We've got a black eye from something. Don't know whether or not it was friendly fire or something that came from the opposition. Absolutely critical to score now as for the Sharks. Says Josh, exactly right. They need to be the next one. That man's trying to rip his shirt off. Probably seems like a good idea at the time. They are still behind though. I wonder how many of the people criticising Plumtree and others have even coached at primary school level. Just because Rassi is outstanding doesn't mean Plumtree is rubbish. Let's not forget the Sharks are at the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, look at where they were last year, sitting 15th or 14th at this stage. They're in the quarterfinals for this season, which I believe is a huge improvement, seeing as, yes, they gained a couple players this year, but they still, are a relatively similar side. Looks like you got punched by Tyson. Says Patrick. Now 15 minutes remaining, still 11 points down. We love all you rugby rockers tuning in from everywhere. You make it great. Says Ruth. And we have got there maybe South African coaches. We'll do some reflection. The old guard of the coaches must go. White, Dobson and Plumtree are dinosaurs and not good type. So what's a good type of dinosaur out of curiosity? Is this the last stream of the day? It is, yes. Sharks overall play has never been impressive this season. Says James. Does anyone know where key players of Bulls are? Kurt, Thurmark, Johan Husson. Husson's injured. Kurt Liarensa was playing in Japan, so isn't eligible to be able to play. And then Vermark, I'm not too sure about. Right, Mike Adamson, another scrum reset here. They're 5 metres out from the line here, the Sharks, right in front of the posts. And big cheering, who knows why? Says Skills Story Bro, and Skills Coach is responsible. Says KV. And we can blame the coach for almost anything except skills. 14 minutes left. The Sharks, they need something soon. And the Sharks really disappointed me, says Wendy. You get the main coach, then defensive coach, forwards coach, and back coach, says Xander. And then I believe there's also another one or two in there too. This is a big scrum from the Sharks. Could be a penalty try or just a penalty here. Okay, because the scrum went 90 degrees, they weren't allowed to play on. That's what they've said. Hey, SRVG is here. Shouldn't you be training for or to win the oval race? Says Urof. And there's a disappointment. You can't have a whole Springbok team and then you play this flat. And scrum again, says Salah. And I mentioned about it early on in the game. I felt like late in this contest, the scrum was going to be what would win the Sharks the game if they were down. Penalty for Hoosh for the Sharks once again. But I have to think that Munster have to be not too far away from getting themselves a card here. But the other side of things is it seems like there's been a lot of scrum penalties. But at the same time, looking at the stats, so far, I mean, they've creeped up now. 11 penalties against Munster. Heading into the halftime break, I think we only saw 6 penalties throughout the whole first half. Connor Murray should be binned, says a Jimbo. And we have there, you think Sharks win, says Substance. I think if Munster have a yellow card, the Sharks should be able to get back into it. Munster not firing on all cylinders. Neither of these sides, unfortunately, have. Who was faster, Max overstepped or Mapimpi? Max overstepped. Who is Max overstepped? Now, 13 minutes left on the clock. Sharks, once again, are going to go for that scrum, as it has been somewhere that they've been pretty clinical. The ref hasn't even warned Munster yet, says James. And Joey Carberry left Munster now as a champion at Bordeaux. And there's my score prediction for the Super Rugby quarterfinals. Blues, or Chiefs versus Blues, 36-32. Chiefs 33-19. And the Brumbies to lose to the Hurricanes. Max Verstappen, says Kevin. Okay, I get it. Max overstepped, I was very confused about. And Sharks playing like sardines, and we praying for yellow cards now? Pretty much. I feel like it is how the Sharks have managed to win a few of their other games throughout the season. When they've had some tricky moments, they somehow managed to get that card and then just work it away. Now going off Jordan Hendricks, offload to Apalele Fassi, and finally the try comes for the Sharks. Been working hard for it, and now they will need another in quick succession. Who's a Sharks fan in this chat? I think we've got a lot more Sharks supporters than Munster supporters in the live chat at the moment. Sent off, says Salah. I don't believe so, but it is at least the try here. I've said there, Handro Jacobs with the big old push. And we have there, I'm a Plumtree fan, says, was there from Cool Story. That kick has gone over. Is now going to make the score with 12 minutes remaining. 21 points to 17. And we have got there, yes, easy kick, says Sakabola, but yeah, within the 5 points now. Sharks need to kick for the post when they get an opportunity, although that would mean that they are still down by 1 in that case. I think that they have to start chasing the corner again, or at least once again going for those scrums. Over there, 11 minutes of hoping for a Munster win. Says Patrick. It's like a bit of a stoppage here for Niles Scannell. Does look like he needs a bit of medical attention here. Second half has been pretty eventful, I think is the best way of describing it. We have seen try every once in a while, not many, but enough to keep this game close and set up so that it does go down to the wire. We have got there, if it's not Plumtree, then whatever, says Titanium. Now, last 10. This is to determine who goes through to face the Bulls. And next week's game is going to be a challenging one for whoever does get that chance. But at the end of the day, you just got to see this one through. And then from there, you know, whatever happens, happens. It's kicked off now by Munster. Close to the touchline. Vincent Tachuka manages to claim it. Munster trying to get the penalty straight back. If they were able to take a 3 points, they would be in the lead by the 7. Can this be the comeback, says Briston? Quite possibly. They will need to strike next as well. Makazole Mapimpi knocking it on when it was the aerial battle. Ball sits up now for the big man at 19 for Munster. And at Thomas Ahern. It could be the biggest comeback since Broadback Mountain, says James. And also we have the Sharks going to score, says Catherine. And just get one more try, says Titanium in there too. Is a weak Sharks good for the Bulls? Potentially, but normally when those two sides play, the Sharks do fire. And maybe it comes down to the mentality when they go into that game. If they do make it that far in the comp, nice floaty pass over the top there for Munster. Looked flat, and in fact it was a little bit too much. And it becomes a forward pass scrum Are the Sharks finally waking up? They're using their assets in the way that they should be. Every chance that they get, scrums need to be happening because they're dominating them, and more than likely, 1 or 2 more penalties, someone from Munster's going to the bin. There's no comeback, you lads, just watch. And if there is, not remember to say I was right in the stream. Okay, deal. See, here's Joe Alvarez. I think the Bulls are missing key players to win the comp. Jake White probably regrets letting Chris Smith at 10 go. Is Julius not even on the bench? Not even on the bench. After the way that he's played this season, doesn't even get a look in for a quarterfinal. Which seems pretty rough, doesn't it? Using the SS Titanium. And a mini chat says, cool story, bro. And why does this happen? The Sharks play bad rugby first half and then come stronger in the second half. His favourite South African team. I'm pretty impartial with the South African sides. I don't really have a pure favourite per se. Okay, deal, Kiwi lad, says Joe. And we'll get their typo again from Titanium. But now Andre stays and goes on the outside to Apalele Fasi. The Sharks. I think they were asking for the penalty. I think Jaden Hendricks has asked for more penalties than he probably should have throughout this matchup. It seems like that's maybe one of the reasons why the Sharks are a bit slower at their breakdown, is every time that there is a Munster player somewhere near the back, he does try and get that penalty for not rolling away. I think someone else has lost a boot here. Andre stays and crashes forward. And the penalty goes the way of the Sharks. Now they have a choice. And the big question is, do you go for 3 to get within 1, or do you go for the corner to try and cement the win? And next year we will have Pollard back. And needs, where'd that go? Needs to make way for Julius. So much talent, says Chop Gun. And kick for the 3, says LMD. They're kicking for the corner. And it is Jaden Hendricks. Does put the ball into touch. This is a risky play. It either pays off or it hurts you and could be the difference between a win and a loss. What would you do? I think with the amount of chances that the Sharks have had, I possibly, if it was me, just because it's a final, or at least the quarterfinal, I probably would have taken the 3. But then saying that, the advantage could come into it for the rolling maul here. So that probably, like, in the end, you probably go for the corner. But you have to make sure you're scoring here, or else you've lost your chance. Now, quick hands. Apalele Fasi goes over. And the Sharks will take the lead. And let's go Sharks, yes, Lilia B. And how many minutes are left? Still another 7 minutes remaining. The Sharks are celebrating like they've won the match. But this one's not over yet. And it's Apalele Fasi who does get in. You know, the box, I like close wins. Says Titanium. And I think Munster will come back into it. Says Connor, work, good play. Says Juan Pierre Bosch. And that is a big one there for the Sharks. And Munster is out of gas and cloves. Says Araf. Told you. Says Catherine. And stay focused. Says Asakabola. And there as well. It's over. Congratulations, Sharks. It is far from over. There's still 6 minutes. I feel like they cannot rest on their laurels here. I feel bad for the Sharks. We have the best players with the right coach would be unstoppable. Says Daryl. Maybe you should coach them, Daryl. I feel like you seem to know exactly what they need to do to be back to the world champions that you know they can be. I remember 24-24 was my prediction, says James, and full focus now. Says Lilia B. Rory Scannell makes his way onto the field for his 200th appearance for Munster. And too early to party, says Ruben. Yeah, there's still time. I said Sharks only play from the 75th minute. Looks like there is an injury here for Fez Mbata. And Munster have a habit of coming good at the death. And 6 minutes is still a long time. Focus, Sharks. And in fact, my apologies. I said that it was Apalele Fasi who scored. It was actually Fez Mbata. He was getting pushed along by Eben Etzebeth. And from being successful, from being scornful to being feeling soothed, says Titanium. What happens if it's draw at full time? We get an extra 20 minutes of extra time. Whenever this guy is casting, the favourite always loses. Says Shavam. That's just not true, is it? Like, at the end of the day, we've covered the 3 other games of the quarterfinals. All 3 of them have won. So what I'm wondering, Shavam, this is the first stream we've seen you on for the day. Maybe you're the curse, not us. Just saying. Every time you've said that when you've popped in, the side's losing, maybe it's not me. And I have been supporting the Sharks since 2018. Says it was there from Joe. Ball loose, and Munster have got the ball back and come on the Sharks. A lot of support coming for the home side just at this point. Connor Murray going to dig that ball out of the breakdown. Gavin Coombs. The quarterfinals of the URC edition have been bad. Poor defence from all sides. And now off the feet, so don't get the steal in the breakdown for the Sharks. Same can be said about Handro. Jakobs there, they got to hang on. And how many minutes left, says Wendy. Now backline, uh-oh, that's bad. Okay, it was just a little bit too far outstretched in the hand. It's not going to be anything more than a penalty. And Munster are a great team, says Catherine, and Sharks to hold the ball for 5 minutes, says Ash, but they've already given away that penalty now. They've called for the shot. This is a big call, and they have to make sure that it goes over. Can it be a yellow card? I can't do an Irish accent, but that's what Crowley said there. Because of how far out from the line it was not a yellow card. And yep, Carter, the Sharks going to have to be super awesome next week. And then the Sharks beat Munster before, says Titanium. They have in the past, yes. Looks like Francois Fenty will make his way onto the field now. You know what Munster have done that the Sharks haven't? They've won the URC. But Connor Murray, he has got the kicking tee. Who's going for the three? It is Connor Murray. And let's go Sharks all the way from Dakota in the USA. Says Waldemar. And who's in the lead at the moment? The Sharks are 24 points to 21. But if this kick goes over from Murray, we will be back to a pretty close finish in this one. How tough is the kick, says Liam? About 42 metres out. Relatively straight. Whole crowd booing him. In fact, it's actually a bit further. 46 metres, I would say, for Connor Murray. Strikes it. Good connection. And you know he got it over when the crowd went dead silent. And that is now 24 points to 24. Do they go into overtime if it's draw? They do indeed, yes. 20 minutes of overtime, I believe it is. And then from there, they go into a kicking contest. I'm so proud of Munster's effort, says MCN, I should say. But 3.5 minutes left, and the Sharks will be kicking this one off. Someone's going to have a last-minute thriller of a win, or we're getting another 20 minutes. I don't know whether or not these two sides would want to play for an extra 20. There has already been a lot of stamina used. As I told you, the Munster will come back, says Joe Alvarez. And also we've got the Sharks try time, says Miller, and what a stressful, fun game. And we have got there, Hamish, you asked for a close contest, and I did say it was going to be the closest of the weekend in the URC, and it is by far delivered on that part. 3 tries apiece for these two sides. But now, we've got to remember also both sides missing early threes. Crowley missing one, Hendrickson missing one, and Murray has excellent boot for the Poles. Says LMD, and I wonder if it goes into overtime if the Sharks scrum will be even more successful. Says Liam, yeah, I think that if you're Munster, you've got to try and finish this off before they get there. And we have got there, you got your wish, says Kuda. There's the best game, URC and Super, says Uruf. Hendricks again going for the box kick. Done it multiple times. Oh, that was ugly. A player foot tripped from Munster. I think he was foot tripped by his own player, though. Francois Fenta, miracle offload attempted. Loose ball, Makazole Mapimpi, able to pick it up. Did slip that caused a try for Munster down the other end of the field. Can he perhaps have the match-winning moment for his side? 50 metres out, Hendrickson, back to Hendrickson, who will go for the high kick again. The tactic here from the Sharks seems to be try and force the error from Munster. They would win second to make the semi. And also we have there go the Sharks. Says Catherine, let's go Munster. Owen has said there. Loose ball, Pepsi Puta lazy has to pick it up, and now he's 40 metres out from his line. He sits down the Munster defence. Now Jordan, or in fact it will be Jaden. Oh, he wasn't ready for it there, Jordan Hendricks. So once again goes with the up and under though. It's the only tactic that the Sharks have got in them at the moment, and Munster running it up to the halfway line. Connor Murray back across to the right now. Crowley's going for the kick behind. This time an attempt at a 50-22. The man is back there and kicks it downfield of his own. Deka Abrahams having to retreat. In fact, that time it was Mike Haley. Kick downfield. Good hands from Makazole Mapimpi. Both sides are playing not to lose. Massive run from Makazole Mapimpi. Up the middle off to Hendricks, who just couldn't quite link up with another player in Munster. Have managed to take this one back. They have got the knock-on advantage with 40 seconds remaining in this contest. 24-24 with time to play. Kick downfield there by Munster, and they get it into touch. They'll go back for the scrum. Who would have thought that this was going to be the score at the end of this game? It is as close as it can be. There is very little time remaining. I believe that the scrum here, there we go. Extra time regulations. The team that scores the most points in extra time shall be deemed the winner of the match. If the scores are tied after extra time, then the team that has scored the most tries in that match, including extra time, shall be deemed as the winner. If the scores are tied after extra time and the teams have scored the same number of tries, including extra time, I didn't even get to read it. It was so many things, but I think it's something to do with the rest of the season. Hamish's never going to bed, says Christopher. The good news is, this is the last game of the day. Luckily, we don't have another one that would end up overlapping. Munster are on that desperation mode and playing it well, says Uraf. But the thing is, for Munster here, I believe they have to accept the fact that they're going to extra time. They're about 20 metres out from their line with the scrum. The Sharks, if they win the scrum penalty, they will go through to the next stage. But if Munster get it and they kick it into touch, which I think has to be their plan, they just have to say, look, we've got to play another 20 minutes. I was hoping in extra time that a team scoring first win, says Xander. Nope, they actually play the full extra time period. Now, Scannell just having a big chat with the ref there, making sure that he knows exactly what is expected of him. He's played the full 80 minutes, by the way. Barron's just sitting on the bench going, I could still end up with 20 minutes for this matchup. And Fast Redder says, Wampia Bosch. Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't start it fast enough, though. Any extra subs during extra time? I actually don't know the answer to that one. But I would think no, to be honest. Only if the refund has a ref has a Rolex, says Kevin. And we have got their Timu Sharks. If they lose, says you're rough. Both sides stepping up. Oh, hang on. If Munster win themselves a penalty here at scrum time or a free kick, they might actually go for one last attack. Try and get this game won before they reach extra time. You can do it, Munster, says Bronwyn. But what a close game between these two sides. I mean, when I said I thought it would be the closest of the weekend, I thought maybe 7 points separating them, maybe 5 at a stretch. But to be tied after 82 minutes was definitely not what we saw coming. But the ball going to be fed in by Connor Murray. Big push from the Sharks. Crowley kicks it into touch. We're going to extra time, ladies and gents. And Munster have been here before in their game up against Toulouse. I believe it was a kickoff. Even Etzebeth rocking the black eye at the moment. Please, extra time balls need super tired legs. Says LMD, is there a break before extra 20 minutes? I think it's like a 5-minute break that the players do get. 20 more, says Wampia Bosch. So, tell you what, imagine if this game was played at altitude. How brutal it would have been. It's a Sharks game, Hamish, you should know better. Says Lilia B, and Bulls love this, says Eric. Yeah, very fatiguing for these two sides. The Bulls, they will be watching on, excited to see who they will face. But definitely a very close game. A ridiculous thriller, says Xander, and yay, extra time. Yeah, it's been a wee while since we've had an extra time game. We've had a few draws along the way recently. They are just showing the highlights. Now, I should mention as well, because both sides have scored 3 tries. In fact, while we've got this little bit of a gap, I'm actually going to go back and see what that thing said about the extra time situation. There we go. If the scores are tied, oh, there's an ad. One moment. Go here. If the scores are tied after extra time, and they've also scored the same amount of tries, then the winner of the match will be determined by a place kick-off competition conducted in accordance with Appendix 3 to the championship rules. What a weird way of wording that. But it's pretty much just a penalty shootout. It's the easier way of saying it, but it sounded all very official, didn't it? And we have got there, Munster have brought back the old fighting spirit. And we have got there, I've never seen a kickoff. Yeah, Munster have been in one before up against Toulouse, I believe it was, in a Champions Cup game that we did cover on the channel. And come on the Sharks, says Ash. And Munster going to run it straight and drop goal. Sharks going to pass wide, says Ruff. But yeah, at the end of the day, if it's tied at the end of the 20-minute period, you know, you're in that situation of whoever scored the most tries will win. So 4 3-pointers compared to scoring 2 tries with 1 misconversion, one of them is a lot more beneficial. Do the Sharks have any subs remaining? I don't think they've made the sub of Yapinka now that I think about it. They did change Francois Fenta just before the end of the half. But I think they might still have the 1. I think I might have a heart attack here, says John. And after this, I need a life support machine to survive. And do the Sharks have any subs? Oh no, I read that one, didn't I? Right, Munster having the big team chat now. Trying to work out exactly what they have to do. That would be cool. Never seen one, says Sai. It could certainly be on the cards with how even these two sides have been throughout this contest. The extra time, just like a football game. Pretty much, yeah. Time for the hashtag bomb squad. Can they swap back players? I'm actually a little bit unsure about that, whether or not they can make those switches again. I assume that the referee would have let them know in terms of what is and isn't allowed. But Yapinka still being a sub option for the Sharks is extremely handy. They have made all of their... Oh, actually, Bradley Davids may not have been changed either. They might have 2 players who are fresh. Stay in the... I can't do an Irish accent, but stay in the effing fight is what Peter O'Mahony has just said. Didn't mince words, just said, look, this is our chance. Keep the pressure on. However, the Sharks would have taken extra time an hour ago, says Darren. And have both teams scored 3 tries? They have indeed, yes. So that is one thing that they can't be split by in terms of the situation at hand. So, yeah, the fancy words that I've already forgotten, that they said pretty much it's a kickoff at the end. We have got there, is David's better than Jaden, though. Honestly, in this game scenario, I think Bradley Davids has that little bit more X factor in terms of being able to create a chance on attack. Jaden Hendricks is going to give you the up and unders that he's given all throughout this game. Bradley Davids could give you a match-winning pass. So they have to determine what's worth the risk. We have got there as a Shark supporter. I was excited to have to go through something like this, says Titanium. Yeah, it's definitely going to test them mentally and physically. And Munster must surely be favourites. Heading into this match, the Sharks were. So you'd also assume that heading into extra time, the Sharks would also be slight favourites, seeing as they did have the lead before Munster got the 3 points back. Jaden has never been a standout player, always only 80 out of 100. Says Chop Gun. But we're just about ready to go, ladies and gents. I'm actually unsure of whether or not it is 20 minutes back to back to back, or whether it's 10 minutes, then a break, and then 10 more minutes. But we will, of course, find out very soon. Put Khaleesi on now. I don't know if they're allowed to, and they took him off quite early for Pepsi Buthelezi, but Eben Etzebeth has got quite the black eye. He's going to be playing through it. As we know, that man seems to just keep on getting stronger as he gets more injured. I think you mean an 8 out of 10, or 8 out of 100, I should say, from James. Kiwi undermining the box, says Titanium. Who, me? In what way, Titanium, did I undermine them? And that one. And to be a Shark supporter, as like being a Newcastle football supporter, popping blood pressure pills, says Paul. An extra time, a boy heading to altitude, perfect, says Christopher DeVette. But it's going to be kicked off now by the Sharks. And we're underway for extra time. And 10 minutes each half for extra time. And Etzebeth is merely inconvenienced by the black guys, says Miller. Yeah, if anything, it just fires him up more, doesn't it? Connor Murray will kick this one into touch. Good to see Evan still on and playing. Now we have got there, who would you think will win? Well, I do think that the Sharks scrum's going to win them this game if they get to use it. But Munster still, I believe, have got something in them in terms of a clean break or some sort of little thing, an interception perhaps. But now line-out throw for Fezambata. The fatigue must be fully setting in for these guys who have started this match. The guys off the bench, they'll be feeling relatively fresh. They'll also be enjoying the fact that they get more opportunity than they normally would in terms of minutes. I need a shot, says Wendy. Now the Sharks in possession, going off to the left-hand side. These 10-minute periods will absolutely fly by in this contest. Now rolling it back. Jaden Hendricks, they're 35 metres out from the line. Why are they box kicking from here? If it works, it works. If it doesn't, though, yeah, mark called by Munster. Poor kick from Jaden Hendricks, so that just gives Munster the easy kick downfield to help them reprieve the pressure. I'm on light support. I told Mum to turn it off if the Sharks lose. Munster like doing it the hard way, says Tiger, and put on Khaleesi, says Ash. But yeah, once again, I'm not actually sure whether or not they are allowed to bring him back out there. And go on Munster. My grandmother foresaw this in her gin. And even doesn't get a black eye. It's the air molecules that turn black of fear when it comes close to his face. And yes, very poor kick, says Salah. Now line out throw for the Sharks. They'll be about 45 metres out from the line now. And Fezambata with another chance. 80 minutes bot kicking. Got the draw. Surely you change tactic, says Chop Gun. We're over there watching the puppy. Everyone shouted, don't kick. Hendricks kicked away possession. What a... says Adair, now kicked away by the other Hendricks brother, this time being Jordan. The strategy at the moment, I believe, it's worked out there for the Sharks. The high ball has been dropped by Munster. But it just seems to be that the tactic at the moment is to force the opposition to knock it on so that they can scrummage them off the park. And extra time you go for the threes or tries. Tries are worth more in the overall match in terms of the value of them for the playoff tiebreakers, but to just win the game would be enough. So yeah, I think you've got to go. That was actually quite interesting, that stat. Said that Sharks have only had 500 metres of kicking, whereas Munster have had 750. I don't think that's correct. I think we've seen quite a bit of kicking from the Sharks. Well, maybe it's just the narrow or the non-deep kicks that we've seen. The shallow ones more so from the Sharks. I guess when your opponent is exhausted, it's more likely to make an error. And how are you watching? Watching on TVNZ Plus here in New Zealand. And players kick contest, please, says Simon. Now ball's going to be fed in. Once again, the Sharks trying to get their scrum going, but it holds strong for Munster, or at least it did for a while, and too much movement. The tactic for the Sharks is to milk that penalty all the way to the semi-final. It's their best chance. They've looked strong while doing it, and that ball's just going to stay in that scrum at the back as long as they can, but they can't take too much risk or else Munster might get a penalty back for themselves. Which team looks more worn out? There's a lot of hands on hips for both sides. I don't think either side are more fatigued than the other. They're just both exhausted, but they have to power through. Still another 6 minutes of the first half. And then, of course, second half, there will be another 10. If it goes to kick out, who would be favourite, says Xander? Well, that is quite the question, because when you look at the players who have been taken off the field, I would say safe option off the kicking tee is Connor Murray. For the Sharks, you'd say, another advantage. And that one now, Pepsi Buta breaking off the back. Looking for the offload. Finds James Venter. Backline movement here. Jordan Hendricks. Skip pass. And it's dropped from the last pass to Ethan Hooker. It's the Durban humidity. Gets in their head, says Titanium. Bulls versus Munster in the semi, says Fareed. The ref has given Munster far too much room in that scrum, says James. And why is there no scrum penalty for the Sharks? There is. Okay, I think Evan Etzebeth and Tyke Byrne just having a bit of a conversation about the scrum. They aren't too happy, the Munster side. Right. What is the plan here for the Sharks? Is it go for the 3 or go for the corner? What's the plan? Jordan Hendricks is nodding his head. They're kicking for the corner. They're going for the win. This game should have ended on time, but the Sharks have chosen to use their drop the ball tactic. Sad. Says a rough. And how many penalties has Munster conceded in succession now? Quite a few, to be fair. I think they're up to about a 13 penalty count in this contest. Jordan Hendricks has a serious boot, yet he's deciding not to use it in this one. How long is a yellow in extra time? The same. I believe it is still 10 minutes, so it could be absolutely brutal. And I would assume if you have a yellow card at the end of the extra time, maybe you're not allowed to take the place kicks. But yeah, the one that I remember between Munster and Toulouse, you take it from the 22, then the 22 on the side, and the 22 on the side, as in like the markings of the 22. Big run from Ntodoku and Marciano. 6 minutes through, and extra time, Hendricks gets it off to Vincent Tachuka. Now told to let it go. James Fenter, pick and go here from him. Ebenezabeth, round the side, Munster looking for the steal. Is it available? Yes, it is. And they will win the turnover penalty. The Sharks took the risk, and this time it hasn't paid off. And pay the Sharks more money, that should motivate them, says Titanium. Been watching the game, well, it's changed a lot since halftime, says Jack. Yeah. And we're in extra time at the moment, which is something that I don't think anyone really... Once again, I said it would be close, but I didn't think it would be this close. Like, within 7, not going to extra time to determine who will take on the Bulls in the next game. We have got there, yes, says Joel, and does one person take the penalty kicks or multiple people win a kickoff? You start off with 1, I believe. So, from memory, I believe you go one guy from the 22, and the 22 in terms of those 3 positions, and then you have to switch your kicker to another man. I think in that game, we saw Dupont take some kicks. We saw Ramos for Toulouse. I can't really remember it too vividly, but yeah, I think after a while, the kicker actually has to switch out. But now... ball is going to be available here for Munster. Connor Murray has it at the back. Absolute mindless play from the Sharks. Take the point. Scoreboard pressure, says James. What happens if it's still equal at the end of extra time? We go to a kicking contest if neither sides can be split by the amount of tries that they have scored. So whoever has the more tries at the end of this extra time do win theoretically. But I would say there's a good chance that if it's still a draw, they're both on the same amount. Little chipping behind from Apalele Farsi finds Marcus Olimapimpi with the inside ball to Francois Fenter. Sharks moving up to 22. That was forward by about 2 metres from James Fenter to Etzebeth. And it will be another Munster scrum. I also thought 3 points in extra time is a better option. I agree. I think that in that case, you've got to take the points. It's only 20 minutes extra time, which sounds like a lot. But when you consider the fact that the Sharks have had many chances throughout this first 8 minutes and haven't gone over, they could currently be leading by the 3. Although I guess maybe not a guaranteed kick either. Why grow them in the first place? What are you, a secretary? And we have there, where's the scrum? Currently 22 metres out from Munster's line. I told you that Munster won. Congratulations, Munster. You earned the victory. Says Joe. Was on one of the splitters who has more tries through the competition. Or was one of the splitters? No, it was all based off this game. So pretty much, if they both have the same amount of tries at the end of extra time, then we go to the kickoff. It was the captain with Khaleesi off the field. Etzebeth has been the captain since the start of the game. And I just chew my dog's nails when I run out, says Suckabula. You're just showing it there. They're trying to check whether or not maybe there was a late shot on Makazole Mapimpi. Might be slightly grasping at straws here, just trying to get some sort of moment in their favour. And just wait, Munster 22, and Eben was the captain from the start, says Miller. And also Etzebeth, says Joe Young. And we have got a lot of people going for the Sharks still. Munster hanging in there, though. Are you a Kiwi from South Africa? Says Moira. I am just a Kiwi from New Zealand. But, yeah, we've covered a lot of these games in the URC. as well as a lot of Northern Hemisphere stuff. We have good there. Sharks are the best, says Charlene. And New Zealand Rugby is ruthless. Sent Plumtree as a sleeper agent, says Titanium. And when does Super Rugby playoffs round start? Next week. We are going to be covering those 3 games on the channel. Massive push from the Sharks. And they managed to steal the ball at scrum time. They don't get the penalty advantage. But it's a good position on the field for them. 30 seconds remaining of the first period of extra time. And Etzebeth crashes it forward. 25 metres out from the line. Andre Esterhazen. He's made a lot of metres throughout this contest. But he hasn't quite got himself that try. Emil van Heerden, big shot on him. Hendrikse going off to Francois Fenton now. Munster trying to find a way of getting the steal. Short ball looked flat into the hands of Ntotoka Machunu. Wrestled down. Munster looking for the steal. Hendrikse across there. Fezenbata pops the ball up. Munster in off their feet. Okay, James Fenton now. Held up by Connor Murray. But eventually gets to ground. Do we have a drop kick? I mean, Jordan Hendrikse could probably do that role. I do see that Crowley's still on the field for Munster too, which does mean that they have got at least 2 goal kicking options. Whereas for the Sharks at the moment, I guess they've got Jaden and Jordan, the Hendrikses, who would have to take those kicks. Into the pocket, drop goal for Jordan Hendrikse, and it's charged down by Munster. The Sharks lose a lot of metres, but this is where they're dangerous with the counter-attack from the back. Apalele Fassi tries to kick in behind, and the ball goes into touch. And will now be the first half of extra time over, and these teams can still not be split. I don't think they get a huge amount of a break either. Probably only about 3 or 4 minutes, and then we are straight back into the action for another 10-minute period where these two sides, I think that the Sharks will be looking at that 3-pointer now and going, why did we turn that down? And the grand final on the 14th of June next week. Whoever wins this game will be going head-to-head with the Bulls. And that's not going to be an easy game, as it will be away from home. How are you watching on TVNZ Plus here in New Zealand? So many chances for the Sharks in the first half, says James. Munster is strong in the game. I mean, Munster didn't really get a single attack throughout that first 10 minutes of extra time. They couldn't get out of their own half. And once again, that Sharks scrum is very strong. What happens if no score at the end of extra time? Then we would go to a kickoff, which does mean pretty much the same as a penalty shootout in football, how 3 players or 2 players or 1, depending on how many end up missing, line up kicks, and then whoever gets them over more moves on. So there's a lot that's going to come down. And I mean, now that's the thing. We're at the point, we all want to see a kickoff, don't we? We're 10 minutes into extra time. These two sides can't be split. Although, I don't know if, as a neutral, I want to see a kickoff. As a Sharks or a Munster supporter, are you actually, you'd be, of course, hoping for a win in this period, but who's more concerned about their kickers going into that kickoff if we do get there? I do wonder. I want to listen to that kick from. They start from the 22, and then I think they go back, or they go to the side and the side, and then they go back to the 40, and then they do the same, and then they go back to the 50. And I think it's each time it's a different kicker or something. I can't even remember how Munster did it when they did face Toulouse. All I know is Munster lost that kickoff drop ball from Vincent Achuka on the 22, and now Munster will get their first attacking chance. As a neutral supporter, I love a kickoff, says Asai. And try coming, says James. And what if in the second half of 10, Munster and Sharks is over? And it's still tied, what will happen? They will go to a kickoff, which is pretty much like a penalty shootout equivalent for rugby. They don't have the same amount of tries, do they? They certainly do. 3 tries apiece in this contest. I don't think we've got enough time for one side to have more tries than the other without winning the game from there. So the non-kickers will have the difficult kicks. I think they go through the rotation, then they go back to the front for the next kicker, I think. I could be very wrong. I can't even remember how they did it, but I know that Ramos took some kicks. Dupont, I think, nailed the winning one for Toulouse. I think they had a third option in Intermac too, so they actually had some stacked options for being able to go for the kickoff. Connor Murray, Jack Crowley at the moment, I would say, are the two that Munster have got. In terms of this backline of the Sharks, they've got Jaden and Jordan Hendrickse. Not sure who else they would actually look at. Bradley Davids, does he kick a little bit? And please, Hendrickse is not a good kicker. Hope it doesn't go that far, says Ruben, in tough game. Says Eric, can you read the current backline for the Sharks, says James. So they have brought Francois Fenta on. I think Pinke is out there, but I could be wrong. I don't even know if he's made his way on at this point in time. At Munster, they are 22 metres out from the line. Murray goes across to Crowley, and it's another drop ball. And it will now be the scrum for the Sharks again. I don't want to be left supporting the Bulls, says Titanium, and Sharks just deep dive for 10 minutes. Fussy is a good kicker as well. That is true. As a bit of a third option. I'm trying to think whether or not someone like a Tom Farrell or I don't think Thick Abrahams has done much kicking. Mike Haley, maybe? Who else have they got off that bench? Who was the replacement 10? Rory Scannell, maybe? And we have got there, where in the field is the play happening at the moment. The Sharks are 25 metres out from their own line with a scrum feed. Evan used to kick well in mauls, says Joe. Currently just the 7.5 minutes remaining. Anyone who was new, of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I have a feeling that this will be the longest game of the URC that we do experience of the season. It has been back and forth from start to finish. Neither of these sides wanting to take that backwards step. Okay, scrums still look like Sharks have got that heavy advantage here to be able to go on and possibly get that penalty again. And shall I crack my first tinny open? Says Fat and Bald. And fairly big chair, but short. Says, cool story, bro. And Mapimbi and Eben not bad off the boot. Is this the most beers I've had in a URC game this season? Oh, it's the most beers, sorry, rather than the question side of things. Now, Jaden Hendrickse, he's played for 100 minutes almost throughout this game, if you include the extra time periods. Big scrum from the Sharks, again getting themselves that penalty advantage. It's just a bit of a lifeline that they've been able to use throughout this game. Wide out pass, Mapimpi drops it, and they'll go back for the penalty again. I'm out, thanks for the live stream, says Joe. And the Sharks will win, says Moira. And Upper Farsi kicked 6 points last week against the Scarlets, says Chapman. So the question is, would they go with Jordan Hendrickse first, then Farsi, then Jaden? Or would they go Jaden second and then Upper Farsi? A lot of decisions that will have to be made if we do go that far. But Jaden Hendrickse does kick that ball into touch, get some decent distance on it too. But the Sharks, they're working into a position on the field where they can possibly get going and create an attacking chance. How many drop balls by now? 15? It's more than 15, probably closer to 20. Now we go there, sounds like there will be a kickoff. The score is equal, not sure how that works, says Peter. Yeah, so it's pretty much sudden death kicking off the tee. It's like a little bit of attention for Ntutukumachunu's neck. Hopefully he will be all right. To continue, please kick the penalty. They are too far out for that penalty to be taken. So instead they have kicked it into Dutch. Where's the yellow card? How many scrum penalties can a team get away with? Yeah, it's been a little bit surprising that no yellow has come for Munster. And the Sharks will win, says Outlaw. And too far to kick, went for the line out. And was he ever a kick out? I can't remember ever seeing one. Munster versus Toulouse. About 3 years ago, we covered it on the channel. And it was something that was so unique that you just don't expect to see. But they couldn't be split. So in the end, the kickoff was what determined that Toulouse would advance in the Champions Cup. Jordan, then Upalele, then Jaden for sure. Says Chapman there. But the line-out throw now for the Sharks with just the 5 minutes left on the clock. Thrown in by Fezambata, well claimed by Vincent Tichuca. Are we going to see another attempt at a drop kick from the Sharks, or will they look to get that penalty advantage? Andre Esterhuizen. Now Hendrickse goes off to Hanroy Jacobs. Munster have to make sure they are staying on side. Turns into a maul there. And they've done well to hold him up. They've tied him up well. And that ball's not coming out, which means that the Munster side will get themselves a scrum 22 out from their own line. I would not trust Jordan in the pressure moment, Says James and Toulouse actually never lost. Toulouse won. Says Kevin. I said that, didn't I? I said that they beat Munster. And we everything know Sharks are doing their best to lose this game. Says Sakabula. And who will kick for Munster if it goes to it? I think they'll go with Crowley and they'll go with Connor Murray. And if it goes even further than that, then Haley, maybe, in terms of those guys. Or Rory Scannell, is he a option off for kick and tee? And well, there's a scrum penalty for a kick. Says Ruff and Hamish help the Sharks. Says cool story. At the moment, these two sides are so fatigued. There are players staying down. Niall Scannell's going to play the full 100 minutes here. And it's still first half of extra time. It is the second half of extra time now. So we are up to 96 minutes through. Scannell has made 19 tackles. He's only made 4 metres. And Andre is having a quiet game. He's had a few decent runs. Andre Esterhazen, but just hasn't quite got that next big break that's been able to get him through. And just let Byrne do it, says Jack. An extra time, please, says James. We are already in the extra time, 4 minutes away from a kickoff, which is something you don't see very often at all, but it would be a fitting way to end this contest. It's been very hard to split these teams. They've both had their fair share of errors, some great moments too. How many kicks are given to each team? Is it like 5? I think it's you take the first 3, and then from there it's sudden death. I could be wrong though. Once again, I only very, very vaguely remember what happened between Toulouse and Munster. Great advert for rugby as an entertainment. Says it was there from Corin. I'll quickly go Toulouse versus Munster rugby kick-off. Historic kicking competition. Toulouse progressed to the semi-finals in the most drama. It's 2 minutes long. So it looks like you've got 6 kicks to start with, maybe. By the looks of that one, or at least that was how it started. Undo with the cramp, says Sal and Hamish. I get the feeling you're rooting for the kickoff. A little bit. I mean, I'm a neutral in this game. So, of course, I'd love to see it go to that. Just to add a bit more suspense. Like, yes, someone could get a last-minute 3 points, and it would be great for them. But I just want to see a kickoff. It's been like 4 years or 3 years since we've seen one. Copenhagen says titanium, and can't we just go home? Toss a coin, says Ruben. Did not expect this outcome, but I should have listened to the wise owl Hamish, says Miller. And is it kickoff, says Mohaddin? Not quite. 3 minutes now remaining on the clock. And the Stormers, or sorry, not the Stormers, the Munster side are within their own 22. So if the Sharks win themselves a penalty here, could be the difference maker, and they should take the 3, which they should have done in the first half of extra time. They turned it down, and now they find themselves still sitting 24-24. I'm just going to have a quick wee look here, see what the kickoff extent was. Okay, so by the looks of it, it's 6 kicks. It's 3 different individuals doing the kicking. So you have one guy who kicks from out in front, one guy who kicks from the 22, and one guy who kicks from the 22 on the other side, and you all get to kick. And then from there, I think it's from 40 metres out, and then if it's tied after that, you go to 50 out or something like that. But now Connor Murray to feed this ball in again for Munster. Gavin Coombs, Crowley, just looking to sink the slipper and put it as far downfield as he can. It bounces close to the touchline, cleaned up by Maka Zolima Pimpy, tackled on the halfway line, and a very good shot from Haley. Munster told to get out of that. I think Niall Scannell was still trying to get that little bit of an extra chance. 9-2 slow says Sakabola Timo must come in and give the Sharks a penalty. Says Xander. Now Jaden Hendrickson, once again, we're going to see the box kick attempted. That is all they have done in this match. But if they do drop this ball, Munster, Etzebethto unable to claim it, and nicely done by Munster again. Connor Murray goes back across, rush defence there from Emil van Heeren. Right, Connor Murray going to go back into the pocket. We know what the tactic is for both of these sides. It's just pretty much play the territory game. Ball doesn't quite find the touchline though. And now Apalele Fasi, he will go for the up and under. Munster, after it all, great take from Apalele Fasi, who's retained the ball with 100 seconds remaining of extra time. Hanro Jacobs I believe the Sharks, of course, if they can, they'd like to get a form of points before the full-time siren, and Tutuko Machunu almost has his jersey scragged over his head. I want his field position currently on the halfway line. Jordan Hendrickson sells the dummy short ball to it's knocked on again from the Sharks. That has been their downfall all throughout this game, but it's kicked forward by the Munster side, which means it's play on. Now, Apelele Fasi takes the low one, kicks it deep into Munster territory. It steeply bounces. And now Jack Crowley looking for the sideline. Fantastic kick from Crowley. That is exactly what they needed. 50 seconds left now. And, Crowley's not happy with the touch judge there in terms of where he said that ball bounced out, I don't think. In fact, I think he was just trying to fire up his team as they will need it in the final moments. 30 seconds left of the extra time. Bradley Davids gets to make his way on. That looks like it's for Makazole Mapimpi. That might be strategic in terms of the kickoff, ladies and gents. Maybe Davids, they feel, could be a viable option when needed. How well has Crowley played? He's been a bit quiet, if I'm being honest. He's had some good moments, but probably not as evidential as we'd normally see. But now the line out 60 metres out from the try line. And it's going to be overthrown. The Sharks, though. Jaden Hendrickson. What is the decision here for them? Do they just kick this ball into touch and accept a kickoff? There's the siren sounding. What is the mindset? They're going to kick it into touch. And Jaden Hendrickson accepts the kickoff. Is that negative from the Sharks, or are they that confident that they will win a kicking battle? But we are going to the kickoff in the URC quarterfinals. Was he told to kick it into touch? I just wonder, what was the thinking? They were probably 40 metres out from their own line. They could have gone for another attack, tried to get that penalty, but they didn't want to take the risk. Absolute negative from the Sharks, says James. I would have thought you'd try and close it out before the kickoff, but now that is huge pressure on these two sides. And the worst thing is, for the guys taking the kicks, they've just played about 100 minutes of rugby. Those legs are going to be burning. The boys are going to be cramping every time they try and take a kick. But we're going to a kicking contest, ladies and gents. So, the team that scores the most points in extra time, we've read all of that. They haven't been split. They're going to a kicking contest. Now, kicking from that one 3 years ago, I believe it is 6 kicks. 3 individuals take 2 kicks each. And of course, you keep on going until someone finally, Amish got his kickoff dream come true, says Albert. And I have to go for a smoke, raised his nuts. And I'm cramping and I'm just watching what distance. So the first kicks are from 22 metres out in front. The next kick, after both men have taken it, go to the 22 metre line where it is marked as 22 on the side. The guy who replaced Mapimpi is going to be nervous. Definitely if he's one of the guys who has to take a kick here. We have got I'm shaving my back because of this. Interesting choice. I've never seen this. These two teams 8. Says Terrence, and you weren't joking when you said it was going to be close. I didn't think it was this close, though. I thought we were going to have 5 points separating them, not going to a kickoff that will then determine who faces the Bulls in the next round. But it's crazy to say this is not our first kickoff that we have covered on the channel. We did do one of Toulouse versus Munster many moons ago. So I think Etzebeth's just having the conversation here. I'm not seeing Apelele Fasi. Tell you what, the voice is struggling. Where's Fussy? Okay. So Bradley Davids, he did make his way on because he is expected to be one of the kickers. And Crowley Murray, not sure who will be the third kicker. And last game, when they went head-to-head in the kicking contest, it was... Who missed? I think it was Joey Carberry actually missed his kick at the post, did he? Or who was it? I'm just finding exactly. It was actually 22 in Ginger. Ben Healy was the one who missed the kick last time. Or Ben, is that his name? Something like that was the one who missed it last time for them, but he's not playing in this contest. How many kicks do you get? You get 6. So pretty much 2 22 metres out, 2 from the 22 metre on the sideline, 2 from the 22 metre near the sideline on the other side. You all get the 2 kicks that you go back to back with. It's all about who handles the pressure better, says Lilia B. What happens? Well done, Munster. They also show up for the game in South Africa. Man, did they give the Sharks a hard game. To be fair, they should let the front rowers kick first, says Christopher DeVette. Yeah, I think the mindset is to not take it that deep. But this is an insane situation, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah, 6 kicks each. Bradley Davids looks like he has got the easy option. Or, in fact, no, he's going to be the kick on the far side of the field. Or is he? He's just warming up at the moment, getting the legs loose. Like I said, these guys who are coming onto the field now, in the case of Bradley Davids, he should have the best chance because he's fresh. But the downside is the fact that he hasn't actually taken any kicks. A nice moment there, though, between Connor Murray and Bradley Davids. A shake of the hands. Both sides know that they have put quite a bit into this. Need a kicking scoreboard. Tell you what, we will do just that. We'll quickly make one. We'll go like this. Go Sharks. So the first kick, ladies and gentlemen, will be Jordan Hendrickse of the Sharks. He's from 22 metres out, straight in front of the posts. These are considered as a give me. In this scenario, Jordan Hendrickse strikes it and gets it down the middle. 1-0 for the Sharks. Next chance, Jack Crowley having a bit of a conversation with him there. Jaden Hendrickse, that is, still chatting to him. Oh, okay, referee there has just said, Jaden Hendrickse, if you keep shouting at him, you won't be making any more kicks. That's something that we didn't see last time. A player trash-talking after getting his kick over. Munster's kick have more experience, but in golden point kicking, they have lost before. This is new territory for the Sharks. Jack Crowley from 22 metres out. Should be a straightforward one, but we've got to remember this man missed a 3-pointer from about the same range earlier on in the game. But Crowley steps up to the plate. Ooh, didn't strike it the nicest, but it has still gone over. And we're sitting 1-1 in terms of the kicks. Okay, my apologies. So the first 3 kickers, if it's level after the first 3, then we enter sudden death. Jordan Hendrickse from the right-hand side of the field, about 30 metres out on the angle. Chance for him to add his mark. And that's no way to play the game in terms of back chat. And Hendrickse has got the kick over. 2-1. For the Sharks. So the first 3 kicks happen. Then if it's a tie after the first 3, we go to sudden death. So the Sharks are now in the box seat. And you've got to think now, the youngster Bradley Davids, he's going to be absolutely shaking in his boots because he might be expected. And this is an interesting choice. But it does make sense. Rory Scannell. Is this a first for the Kiwi lads? Believe it or not, it actually isn't. We have covered an extra kicking contest before. And it was actually with Munster up against Toulouse. Oh, he shanked it, and he's missed it away to the side for Munster, the man who does not normally kick, but had 200 caps, and he is gutted about it. But this does not mean that the Sharks win yet. The kick from Bradley Davids needs to go over for them to be victorious. 25-ish out on the angle for a young man who has just made his way onto the field in the 99th minute of a extra time period in the URC quarterfinals. Can he do it? David's looking composed, but on the inside, he's got to be shaken. Lines it up, strikes it down the middle, and the Sharks will advance to the semi-final to take on the Bulls. Wait, what? They changed the rules. It's not over. 6 kicks must be taken, apparently. Oh, no, sorry. I think no matter what, Munster still have to kick this, do they? Is that not a win? Did they not just win? Apparently, we've got another kick coming, ladies and gents, and a couple more after that. They have to take the 6, apparently. So the Sharks have got the lead, but Munster can still win. I am all confused. But now Connor Murray, chance for him, does get the kick over, never in doubt. But now we go back to 40 metres out from the try line. And the man who will be most nervous is the lone soldier who didn't get his kick over, that being Rory Scannell. But yeah, now 40 metres out. I'm so sorry to all the Shark supporters that I just confused by saying that it was just the first 3. I did hear them say about sudden death though, and I think that may be after the 6, I guess. Jaden Hendrickse gets his kick straight down the middle again. So you're going to give Crowley a bit of the back chat while he has the chance. Time wasted now, says Southkid. And more agony, says Lilia B. And Hendrickse all cramped up afterwards and went down in a heap. Looks like he's getting a bit of treatment from the medics as well here. Just in the background of Crowley. I think Crowley might say he wants to wait before taking this kick, although it looks like he's going to do it. He said, I'm happy enough doing it. This could be a big moment. And I know, okay, take as much time as you need. Stoppage here for the Hendrickse cramp. Crowley was in a rhythm. And now he's walking around. He's got time to think about it. That might be the moment. Penalty kicks in rugby is funny, says Xander. I think at this point they just had to pick up Hendrickse and just drag him off to the side so that Crowley can take his kick. And he's getting stretched by the medics. Is the time on the screen correct? 81st minute. The extra time is over. At this point, we're in the golden point kicking. Currently sitting 4 points to 2 in favour of the Sharks. They are still stretching this. Oh. Jaden Hendrickse has just winked at Jack Crowley. Not sure about that. Mind games by Jaden Hendrickse. Yeah, that's a bit dirty. If that is the case, I know that he's got cramp at the moment, but the fact that Crowley was ready to go, Adamson stopped him, and then Hendrickse has taken his time and then winks at the guy who's about to take the kick. Right, Mike Adamson has said, we need to make a move here. Now Crowley, I wouldn't be surprised if he shanks this. He's had far too much time to think about it. He's got to now take that out of his focus. Maybe he's saying he's okay, that was not what he was doing. But now Crowley. Chance here to line up this kick. The crowd are booing him. Please, Sharks, get this, says Barry. If this kick misses for Munster, it means that the Sharks would only need one more. Adel boys have dirty tactics for years, says Xander. Now lining up the kick. Jack Crowley, 40 out. Comes back around and he does get the kick over. 4 points to 3. The Sharks are yet to miss a kick. The next one will be Jordan Andrews. There we go. Little bit of afters there. Jack Crowley talking to the coaches. And yeah, Crowley pretty much saying, listen, if you're going to put him there, I was going to take my kick. And he's just told one of the coaches of the Sharks to F off. This has got really ugly, ladies and gents. There is tension. Meanwhile, Jordan Hendrickse has to line up a kick here. Is from the left-hand side of the field, or sorry, the right, in fact. Hendrickse strikes well, and he strikes it through the middle. And now the pressure on the man who missed his first kick, the number 22, Rory Scannell. If he gets this kick, they still have a chance. If he misses, oh. Okay, Mike Adamson's just said there, can we ask what happens if we have an injury to one of the kickers? But now Scannell strikes it. That's a better strike and he's got it over, which means now Bradley Davids for the last kick. This is the most tension-filled kickoff we have seen. And not just because we haven't seen one in like 3 years, but there is some bad blood. And they might even have to just end it with a fight on the halfway line. Last team standing wins. Bradley Davids now, though, off the left boot, the youngster. Just so calm in this scenario. Looks like he's got a heartbeat of probably about 3 beats per minute. And if he gets this kick over, the Sharks go to the semi-final. Once again, he's looking like this. He's got no emotion on the face of the youngster. David strikes. He shanked it, but it still goes over. And the Sharks go through to the semi-final to take on the Bulls in quite emphatic fashion, in a way that we have not seen for the Sharks before. They go through somehow in a game that I think both sides will feel they let slip through their fingertips, but in the end there's only one winner, and that is the Hollywood Bet Sharks, who now book themselves a spot through to the final to take on the semi, to take on the Bulls. We will go like this, and we will go like that. 6-4, the score in the shootout. Connor Murray not getting the chance to take his last one. They never put Yarpinka on the field. He had to stay off for 105 or so minutes. And what a roller coaster game, says Lily B. And the Bulls versus Sharks next week is going to be big, says Catnap. And we are, of course, going to be covering that one on the channel. Heartbreak for Munster. They really laid it on the line here, but just couldn't finish it off. And their scrum was getting dominated at times. And what a game, and thanks for your solid marathon shift, Hamish, says Suckabully. Yeah, definitely a lot later finish to this contest than I expected. And thanks, Kevin Lair. Love your descriptive commentary of this tense game. Great job, says Craig's Bank. And always go down and stretch hammies to throw the opposition off, says Xander. Be interesting with the Bulls versus the Sharks and Saturday night semi, says James. And well done to the Sharks. There won't be a white farmer killed in Durban tonight, says Maurice. And we have got the congratulations, Sharks, from a Leinster supporter. What a great game. Seems to have been. Pity there had to be a loser. And weird, I didn't hear the crowd, says School Story. I think they were that nervous that they forgot to cheer after that one did come to a close. But the Sharks, in the penalties, were able to get themselves the victory. Something that very, very rarely happens in the world of rugby union. But we have seen it here. It has been quite the moment for these two sides. But a South African derby. There will be a South African side in the final, ladies and gents. They will face either Leinster or Glasgow. So the top four stay as the top four. Bulls all the way, says Maritza. And thanks for the stream, says Kyola. And there as well. But after penalties, 6 points to 5 they've actually got there. So they must have given the Connor Murray one as counted. No, I don't think he actually got to strike it. And Cheeky Week says one beer Bosch. And nice hanging out, says Kuda. And there as well. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. What a back and forth type of arrangement for these teams. Love my Bulls, yes, says Gerhard. And it was a great stream, Hamish. Thank you, says Lily B. A crappy into the rugby quarters, says Fleshin. And well done, the Sharks. Nice one, Hamish, says Bevan. In there too. But Ethan Hooker, the man of the match, rightfully so, had some brilliant moments throughout this game, did score one of the important tries. Who scored the tries for the Sharks? We saw the one try of Ethan Hooker. We saw one for Fezembata. And then the other try was scored by who did get the other try for them? Maybe Upper Lily Fassi, I think, might have ran it round for the other one. And who won? It was, in the end, the Sharks, who managed to win it 6 points to 5 in penalties. And where will the Bulls play the Sharks? They will play them at Loftus. So it's going to be a tough one around the corner, of course. But Sharks, maybe this will battle harden them and they'll be now rearing to go for that next fixture. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and, of course, subscribe to the channel. We are going to be back in the near future for the games next week. We have got the playoff matches of Super Rugby alongside the other games of the URC for the 2 semi-finals. But what a way to close out this game. And I don't think anyone was going to be predicting it with the way that it ended up going. And yeah, it's just a very unique way for it to end. But nonetheless, thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, sure leave a like and subscribe. And I will see you all for the next one.